Chapter 5908. After a slight pause, he said, if she's in a hurry to use it herself, with her current strength, she doesn't need a profound grade 1 pill at all. A yellow grade 6 pill is enough for her. There are many people who can refine this level of pill on the island. There's no need for her to come to me for alchemy. So what? Are you stupid? Who cares what she's plotting or scheming? Now that the benefits are sent to your door, you should take it first. Did you forget a saying in your secular world? When a sugar-coated bullet comes, peel off the sugar coating and eat it, then shoot the bullet back. Isn't that right? The ghost thing said resentfully. If it could, it even wanted to ask Lin Yi to find Xianxia. Okay, Ghost Senior, don't joke with me, help me analyze what's wrong. Lin Yi said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Since the ghost thing had come out, then let it play its part. The ghost thing didn't talk nonsense anymore. After a slight pause, it said, actually, it's good that you did this. If this Xianxia is really ordered by someone, then if you refuse her once, there will definitely be a second time. The next time the price might be higher. As long as it's not an offer that you can't refuse, then continue to refuse. Let's take a good look and see what the person behind this wants. It was different with the ghost thing around. Although Lin Yi also thought so, but with the ghost thing saying it, his thoughts would be clearer. In fact, the simplest way was for Lin Yi to follow Xianxia himself and see if she had any contact or discussion with anyone. As long as he could hear something, then the matter would be clear. It was a shame that all the buildings in the extreme North Island had restrictions that prevented people from probing their consciousness. It was easy for Lin Yi to break it open, but this was Li Ziyu's turf, after all. Doing that would be too disrespectful, so he didn't even mention it. Maybe Xianxia really was here to ask for his help? Xianxia's words were very natural, and there weren't any flaws in her performance. If it wasn't for the coincidence of Yun Xiao, Lin Yi wouldn't have suspected her. Reality proved that his suspicions were indeed reasonable. After returning to the 100 Flowers Gates encampment, Tong Wulsuo was also waiting for Xianxia. After listening to her report, he immediately left to find the 3 members of the Zheng clan. After listening to the situation, Zheng Dongjue smiled and said, wow, you mean Lin Yi has already refused to accept any more requests for alchemy? Very good, it seems that he has used up all the medicinal pills to restore his true qi. Now there is only one chance left for the auction. We can carry out the plan now. Zheng Dongsheng looked at his grandson and said, Tianqing, did you buy the ghost cicada wings? We'll have to rely on this thing next. Grandpa, don't worry. I've already bought it. Zheng Tianqing said proudly, but his heart ached. He originally planned to let Qian Xiaodong use the ghost cicada wings to deal with Lin Yi, but he didn't expect that in the end, Qian Xiaodong would only agree to let Zheng Tianqing use spirit jades to buy the ghost cicada wings. Damn it, that bastard Qian Xiaodong said something about friendship, but in the end he directly offered a sky-high price of 25 million spirit jades. He even had the face to say that the friendship between the two of them was simply priceless. This kind of price was only given for the sake of Zheng Tianqing as a friend. Zheng Tianqing felt that he should jump off a building at this price, but in order to deal with Lin Yi he could only grit his teeth and buy this precious friendship. Fortunately, their Zheng clan was a family of alchemy, and was one of the most profitable families. Otherwise, this damn ghost cicada wings would have made him go bankrupt. Zheng Dongjue said to Tong Wulsuo with a pleasant expression, Wulsuo, when do you think it's better to use the ghost cicada wings to tempt Lin Yi to make another move? Zheng Dunqing suddenly said with some dissatisfaction, Second Grandpa, of course it's better to do it immediately. This plan was all designed by me, and I was also the one who brought back the ghost cicada wings. Shouldn't I be the one to make the decision on this matter? Tianqing, how can you talk to your second grandpa like this? Zheng Dongsheng said with a fierce face, then turned to Zheng Dongjue and said, this kid has such a temper, don't bother with him. Zheng Dongju laughed and said, how could that be? Cousin, you're worrying too much. Tianqing's words are reasonable, this opportunity should have been grasped by him. I just wanted Crouching Breath to express his opinion, so that we can fill in the gaps. Zheng Tianqing's face looked much better, and he immediately said, Second Grandpa, my tone just now was not very good, please don't take it to heart. Tong Wulsuo, my second grandpa is asking you, Do you have any ideas? Tong Wulsuo bowed his head and said respectfully, "This subordinate thinks that we can test Lin Yi again. Previously, we have already offered 3 times the market price. This time we will offer 5 times. If he still doesn't agree, we can basically be sure that he is saving his strength for the auction." "Good, let's do it." Although Zheng Tianqing felt that it was a bit indecisive, the ghost cicada wings was bought by him for 25 million spirit jades. He did not dare to waste it at will. Anyway, it didn't matter if he confirmed it again. Zheng Tianqing thought for a moment and then said, "Since we want to test him, we might as well offer 10 times the price, 3 or 5 times the price. There is not much difference. 10 times the price is more impactful." "Young Master Qing, if we offer 10 times the price, even if we are sure that Lin Yi can refine a special grade medicinal pill, we won't be able to earn too much profit, and this may arouse his suspicion. After all, 10 times the price is more than enough to directly go to the auction and bid for his opportunity to refine medicinal pills." Tong Wulsuo faintly reminded Zheng Tianqing this was his duty as a subordinate. As for whether Zheng Tianqing would listen to it or not, it was not something he could control. Zheng Tianqing let out a sigh. In his heart he also felt that what Tong Wulsuo said was a bit reasonable, but he would not admit his mistake, so he sneered and said, "Maybe Lin Yi has the ability to refine medicinal pills more than once? Without enough benefits, it may not be able to move him, so we must offer a price that he can't refuse." What young Master Qing said is reasonable. This subordinate did not consider it thoroughly. Tong Wulsuo faintly admitted his mistake, but a trace of disdain flashed on his lowered face, but no one could see it. Zheng Dongjue opened his mouth to smooth things over and said, "What Tianqing said is reasonable. The same goes for Wulsuo. In my opinion, it is better to compromise. Since the previous offer was 3 times the price, then this time we will offer 6 times the price, which is double the price last time. It is enough to attract Lin Yi's attention. As for 10 times, this range is a bit too big. It is indeed easy to attract Lin Yi's attention and suspicion. 6 times is more or less enough." Recommend a very interesting urban novel, My Big Mistress Who Rents Together. You can find it on QQ Reading and QQ Browser. The Tang sex poison doctor returned to Huadu, but became the Tsundra Big Mistress's bodyguard. Chapter 5909. With a way out, Zheng Tianqing didn't insist on his opinion and nodded in agreement. "Second grandpa is right. Then it's decided. Tong Wulsui, I'll leave this matter to you. Give me an answer as soon as possible so I can make the arrangements." "Yes, young Master Qing." "Then this subordinate will take his leave," Tong Wulsui said calmly, then bowed to Zheng Dongjue and Zheng Dongxing and left. In any case, it was just an insignificant plan. Success was good, failure was good. Let them do what they want. Tong Wulsui thought this and quickly disappeared into the night. The next morning, Wei Shenjin came to report to Lin Yi, "Boss, that Hua Lianxin from 100 Flower Gate came to see you again. Do you want to let her in?" Lin Yi's lips curled into a smile as he nodded faintly. "She's a guest. Let's invite her to sit in the living room." What kind of price would he offer today? Will there be any follow-up after rejection? Thinking about it, he was looking forward to it. When he arrived at the living room, Hua Lianxin had already arrived. When she saw Lin Yi, she immediately bowed respectfully. "Master Lin, I'm sorry to disturb you so early. If Protector Hua feels embarrassed, then don't come so early next time," Lin Yi said lightly. His tone made it hard to tell if he was joking or serious. Hua Lianxin choked and felt a bit awkward. She could only smile and say, "Master Lin is magnanimous. I believe he won't bother with me. It's like this. Last night, I went back to discuss with the sect master of 100 Flower Gate. Because this pill is very important to our sect master, we must obtain it before the auction. For this, we are willing to raise the price to 6 times the market price. This is the limit we can bear. I hope Master Lin can consider it carefully." 6 times the market price was definitely a sky-high price. However, Lin Yi didn't even raise his eyebrows and said calmly, "Protector Hua, I think I made it very clear yesterday, so I don't want to repeat myself. If you're only here to say this, then please leave." Hua Lianxin suddenly smiled. "Master Lin, please don't be anxious. Since you're still willing to see me, it means that this matter can at least be discussed. Let's have a good talk. Maybe we can reach an agreement? Lin Yi looked at Hua Lianxin with a smile that wasn't a smile. Protector Hua, what else do you want to say? I've already said that I won't make a move before the auction, so there's no point in raising the price. If you really have a lot of spirit jades, why don't you go to the auction and bid for my pill refining opportunity? At that time, not to mention a mystic level 1 pill, even if it's a mystic level 2 pill, I can refine it for you. Master Lin, you're also going to auction the pill, why don't you just sell it to me? Just tell me how many spirit jades you want, as long as the 100-flower gate has it, we'll definitely give it to you. Hua Lianxin's eyes rolled as she giggled and made this suggestion. If Lin Yi only wanted a sum of spirit jades, then this suggestion was quite good. In any case, it was profit, so it didn't matter how much he earned. Lin Yi didn't say anything, only faintly smiled, then looked at Hua Lianxin, meaning that there was no room for discussion. All right, I understand Master Lin's meaning. Hua Lianxin raised her hand in defeat, then squinted her eyes and smiled like a fox. Master Lin, then I'll give you a piece of news regarding the ghost cicada wings. I wonder if you'll be willing to refine a pill for me? You have news about the ghost cicada wings? Lin Yi really didn't expect to hear the 3 words ghost cicada wings from Hua Lianxin's mouth. Although it was just a piece of news, it was enough to move him. That's right, it's the ghost cicada wings. Master Lin, when you were on the ship, didn't you ask to buy it? Are you interested in knowing how to find it? Hua Lianxin had a confident expression, as if she was sure that Lin Yi would agree to her request. Kid, just agree to her request. Isn't it just refining pills? It's not like you'll lose out. The ghost thing couldn't help but say. With news of the ghost cicada wings, it would be much easier to obtain it. It was much better than having no target like now. As for whether or not Hua Lianxin was plotting something, the ghost thing really couldn't see it. No matter how it looked at it, it seemed like she was giving benefits to Lin Yi. If there really was a conspiracy, could it be that this beautiful young woman wanted to chase after Lin Yi? If that was really the case, the ghost thing felt that there might as well be a few more conspiracies like this. Lin Yi didn't reply to the ghost thing. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and looked at Hua Lianxin, then faintly smiled and said, Protector Hua, since you have news of the ghost cicada wings, it should be in the extreme North Island. Even if you don't tell me, I have a high chance of finding it, right? So what? Hua Lianxin still had a smile on her face, as if she didn't care whether or not Lin Yi was able to find out anything. Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders and said, Nothing much. It's just that if you tell me about the ghost cicada wings now, I will owe you a favor. In the future, if you need to refine pills, I will definitely arrange it first. If you don't tell me, I can only investigate it myself. No matter what the result is, I will bear a grudge against you, and even your 100 Flowers Gate. Don't even mention refining pills for you, even the Tiandan Pavilion on the Central Island will put you on their unwelcome list. Protector Hua, which choice do you think is more suitable for you? Hua Lianxin's expression immediately changed. She didn't want to offend a genius profound-level alchemist like Lin Yi, or even provoke such a powerful enemy for her 100 Flowers Gate. Lin Yi's words weren't a threat, but a statement of fact. Because of this, Hua Lianxin didn't take it lightly. However, this woman wasn't a simple person either. She immediately revealed a sweet smile and said, Master Lin really knows how to joke. Actually, when I mentioned the ghost cicada wings, I naturally wanted to tell Master Lin. It doesn't matter if you refine pills for us or not. To be able to exchange a piece of information for Master Lin's friendship, it's simply too worth it. It's a favor. Lin Yi smiled and corrected her. Wanting to use a piece of information to obtain his friendship, then his friendship was a bit too cheap. Chapter 59:10. Lin Yi was slightly startled. The ghost cicada wings would appear at the small-scale trade fair? He had participated twice and failed to purchase the ghost cicada wings. Why did it suddenly appear this afternoon? Could it be that a newcomer had just taken it out? Then how did Hua Lianxin receive the news? Lin Yi, who had some doubts in his heart, did not care about Hua Lianxin's farewell. He casually waved his hand and sent her away. Yesterday, he wanted to say that he would not participate in the small-scale trade fair anymore. He did not expect that he would have to go again today. In any case, the ghost cicada wings was something that he had to obtain. With the ghost speed wings and the lightning evasion technique, even if he encountered a super expert of sea-splitting stage, Lin Yi did not think that he would lose. Senior Ghost, did you find anything strange about this Huo Yanxin? Lin Yi shook his head. He wanted to ask if the ghost had seen any conspiracy. The ghost said solemnly, "Yes, I am very sure." "What is it?" Lin Yi said in his heart that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. He himself could not see anything strange. "This woman has taken a fancy to you. You should give in to her," the ghost said very seriously. In the end, it could not hold itself back and laughed strangely. Lin Yi's mouth twitched. He suddenly felt that it was good for the ghost to go into seclusion. "Okay, stop joking around. We are talking about serious matters," Lin Yi said helplessly. Huo Yanxin looked very beautiful, but she was not his type. Wait, what was he thinking about? He was led astray by the ghost. The ghostly thing stopped laughing and said, "Well, there is indeed one strange thing. She really wants you to refine pills. This doesn't seem to be very accurate. It should be said that she has been testing you to see if you can continue to refine pills before the auction. Do you understand what I mean?" Lin Yi's eyes lit up. He was also confused by the situation. After being pointed out by the ghost, he suddenly had an idea. "Senior Ghost, do you think that Huo Yanxin and Yun Xiao are actually on the Zheng family side? These guys gave me a lot of spirit jades and pills on the ancient warship, and now they are doing it again? How could there be such a good person in this world? I'll have to go easy on them the next time I beat them up." Linny laughed. He wasn't sure, but there was a high chance that he was right. Although the ghost had gone into seclusion on the ancient warship, it still knew a little about what had happened. Thus, it was able to link the two of them together. In truth, Yun Xiao and Huo Yanxin's acting skills were much better than those four idiots. Lin Yi almost didn't notice their flaws. "That's why I said you should have accepted all of them. You're giving them free elixirs and spiritual jades, yet you're still saving them. What a wastrel." The ghostly thing muttered with a smile. Lin Yi pretended not to hear it. After a while, Tong Wulsuo returned to the place where Jing Dongjue and the others were. Huo Yanxin had already disclosed the news of the ghost cicada wings to Lin Yi according to his instructions. Then, the next step was what Jing Tianqing and the others needed to do. As long as he informed them, this task would be considered completed. Jing Tianqing hadn't even finished listening to Tong Wulsuo's report when he flew into a rage and said, "Tong Wulsuo, I said that when to use the ghost cicada wings is up to me. What do you mean by making a trade fair?" Jing Dongjue seemed to have a lot of trust in Tong Wulsuo. He opened his mouth to smooth things over. "Tianqing, don't be so agitated. Listen to Tong Wulsuo's reason first. I believe he won't do it casually. Isn't that right, Wulsuo?" Tong Wulsuo smiled slightly, bowed and said, "Thank you for your trust, Deputy Hall Master. This subordinate just thought that it would be more appropriate to do it this way. I'm really sorry that I didn't inform young Master Qing in advance." "You think it's more appropriate?" Jing Tianqing smiled coldly, slammed the table and said, "Then do you still think that it's more appropriate for you to be the boss here?" These words were a little heavy. Tong Wulsuo hurriedly said to Jing Dongjue, "Deputy Hall Master, this subordinate definitely doesn't mean that. This subordinate just thinks that if we simply raise the price of Lin Yi's alchemy, and even take out the ghost cicada wings, it will definitely make Lin Yi suspicious. Once he is vigilant, it will be as difficult as ascending to heaven to get him to use the ghost cicada wings at the auction. Now, let's release the news of the ghost cicada wings first. At the trade fair, as long as he wants it, he must agree to the conditions of alchemy. At that time, he won't be able to go back on his word unless he is willing to give up the ghost cicada wings." Jing Dongjue went through these words in his mind, and suddenly clapped his hands and laughed. "Good. If he goes to his door and takes out the ghost cicada wings to ask Lin Yi to alchemy, he is very likely to refuse, but if he takes the initiative to trade at the trade fair, then he will have to refine it no matter what. Otherwise, the entire northernmost island will know his bad character, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't get the opportunity at the auction." Zheng Dongsheng also nodded in agreement. Although he didn't say anything, he also felt that Tong Wulsuo did not do anything wrong. Letting Lin Yi take the initiative to trade was definitely a clever move. Only Jing Tianqing was left. Seeing that his two grandfathers did not object, this guy naturally could not say anything more. He could only stare at Tong Wulsuo with hatred. This bastard, he is just a servant, how dare he snatch the credit from me, the master? This plan was clearly planned by him, Zheng Tianqing, but at the last moment, this bastard jumped out and snatched away the credit. That feeling was no different from eating a fly, it was too annoying. Sky Qing, you'll arrange for someone to lure Lin Yi to take the bait during the afternoon's trade fair. Since he wants the ghost cicada wings so badly, we might as well let him make a mystic second-level pill. He's earned so much, it's about time he paid us back a little. Zheng Dongxing was still very concerned about his grandson. Seeing that he was not in a good mood, he appointed him to do this. Zheng Tianqing glanced at Tong Wulsuo and nodded hard. Grandpa, don't worry, I know what to do. This matter will definitely be done beautifully. Just wait and see Lin Yi's show. Chapter 59:11. Lin Yi was not interested in who was holding this trade fair. His only purpose for coming here was to exchange for the ghost cicada wings. As for other things, he almost ignored them. Hong Zhong and the others made a few moves and obtained some things that they liked. At this kind of trade fair, everyone basically took out their personal items. Whether it was the Hong Chamber of Commerce, Five Elements Commerce, or the Universal Chamber of Commerce, non-personal items would only be auctioned at the auction, not traded at this kind of trade fair. The trade fair had been going on for more than 2 hours, but Lin Yi still did not see the ghost cicada wings appear. He could not help but feel a little anxious, wondering if Hua Lianxin had received the wrong information, or if she was simply talking nonsense to deceive Lin Yi's gratitude. After all, if the ghost cicada wings did not appear, she could also use the excuse that others might have changed their minds at the last minute. However, just as Lin Yi was beginning to get impatient, the ghost cicada wings finally appeared. A man with a hood covering his face appeared on the trading platform. He took out a jade box and said, "A pair of ghost cicada wings for a henna dan." There was an uproar in the audience. Everyone thought that this guy was crazy. He actually wanted to exchange a pair of ghost cicada wings for a henna dan. Wasn't this too whimsical? No wonder he wore a hood. It turned out that he knew it would be embarrassing. Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense, but he could not scan the other party's hood. It seemed that this thing could also prevent divine sense from prying. However, the effect was not too good. As long as Lin Yi wanted to, he could destroy it at any time. Unfortunately, the ghost cicada wings belonged to someone else. If he wanted it, he definitely could not act so recklessly. Friend, although the ghost cicada wings are rare, in terms of value, it can't even compare to 1/10 of a henna dan, right? Your offer is too insincere. Someone in the audience could not help but complain. This kind of trade fair was an occasion for everyone to exchange what they needed. Even if the value of the things exchanged was not equal, the difference would not be too outrageous. Asking such an outrageous price on the stage was simply breaking the rules of the trade fair, so it caused others to be dissatisfied. The guy in the hood said coldly, "If you don't want to trade, then shut up. No one is forcing you to trade." The person who spoke earlier was immediately speechless because what he said was true. The trade fair was all about willingness. No one would force you to exchange things. However, Lin Yi was reminded by that person. Although he really wanted the ghost cicada wings, this kind of price was really too ridiculous. Not to mention that he didn't have the henna elixir. Even if he did, he would have to think about it carefully. The ghostly thing laughed strangely and said, "Kid, that guy on the stage seems to be coming for you. He knows that you want the ghost cicada wings, so he deliberately offered a high price." Senior Ghost, do you think that this guy is in cahoots with Yun Xiao and Hua Lianxin? Lin Yi smiled faintly. In fact, he also had such a guess. If that ghost also had the same idea, then it was probably not wrong. The ghostly thing chuckled and said, "Whether it's true or not, you'll know soon enough." There was no need for the ghostly thing to say anything. Lin Yi also knew what to do. Since he didn't have the henna elixir, he could only remain silent and choose to wait and see. The man in the hood on the stage waited for a while before saying coldly, "I heard that someone wanted to buy the ghost cicada wings, so I took it out. I didn't expect a mere henna elixir to scare him. I can only say that the person who wanted to buy the ghost cicada wings isn't very determined to buy it." Many people who knew Lin Yi couldn't help but look at him. After all, he had publicly asked to buy the ghost cicada wings on the ancient battleship. As for the matter of Hong Zhong buying it at the trade fair, everyone knew that it was Lin Yi's request. "See, he really is coming for you," the ghostly thing said in a tone that was as expected. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "That doesn't mean he's in cahoots with Yun Xiao and the others. I'll test him first." After speaking to the ghostly thing, Lin Yi raised his voice and said, "I do want the ghost cicada wings, but I don't have the henna elixir. Can you see if you can exchange it for something else?" "You're the Lin Yi who put up a chance to refine a mystic level 2 pill at the auction house, right? If it's you, you don't need a finished henna elixir. I can provide the materials, and you can refine a henna elixir for me. The ghost cicada wings are yours," the man in the hood on the stage said unhurriedly. The conditions of the exchange were instantly reduced by several times. A finished henna elixir and a set of elixirs were completely different in value. Moreover, the elixir was provided by him. Lin Yi only needed to refine the elixir. "They're really in cahoots," Lin Yi said to the ghostly thing with a smile. "I don't know what they're thinking. Do they really want a henna elixir after going through so much trouble?" The ghostly thing laughed and said, "Silly boy, I guess those idiots think that you're relying on some external force for continuous alchemy, so they've been testing whether you can continue alchemy, and then use the ghost cicada wings to tempt you to make a move. The opportunity at the auction can only be wasted." Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Only then did he understand that the ghostly thing's guess might really be the truth. Because he had never worried about this, he subconsciously didn't think about it. In fact, the truth was often so simple. After thinking about it, Lin Yi also didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He did rely on external force for alchemy, whether it was the infinite true qi in the space of the jade pendant, or the consumable primordial spirit that could directly become the divine alchemy fire obtained by the soul hooking hand. They were not his own things. However, these things could not be used up at all. If they wanted to use up his alchemy opportunity, he could only say that these people were very stupid and naive. "Are you regretting it? I told you to accept the alchemy commission that was sent to your door. Those were all spirit jades," the ghostly thing said with a strange smile, but it was just saying. Both he and Lin Yi knew that if they kept accepting alchemy commissions, the ghost cicada wings would never appear. It was because Lin Yi decisively refused to continue to accept the commission that they used the ghost cicada wings as bait. Chapter 59:12. Lin Yi regretfully shook his head and interrupted, "In that case, it seems that the deal can't go on." Since he knew that the ghost cicada wing was deliberately taken out by the other party as bait, Lin Yi didn't need to worry. It was like fishing. Before the fish took the bait would never be taken away. If the fish couldn't be caught, he might have to add some more. Now it was up to both sides to compete patiently. Knowing the other party's purpose and trump card, Lin Yi was now sitting on the fishing platform. It was really uncertain who would be the one fishing. Hearing that Lin Yi was about to give up so easily, the hooded man suddenly panicked. Why was this development different from the design script? The plot shouldn't have developed like this. Could it be that Lin Yi's desire for the ghost cicada wing wasn't that urgent? Then why did he publicly request to buy it? The hooded man couldn't figure out the crux of the matter and could only open his mouth. "Wait. The Hai Na Dan must be refined before the auction starts. I can take out 2 sets of materials and you only need to refine one. How about it? This is a rare opportunity. No one knows if you can refine a mystic level 2 Dan. You may not be able to get a good price at the auction. This is the best time for you to prove yourself." Lin Yi seemed to be moved by this guy's words. He rubbed his chin and nodded. "What you said makes sense. As long as I can prove that I can make a mystic 2nd level elixir, the auction for the elixir will be much smoother. But if I make the sea elixir first..." Lin Yi deliberately didn't finish his words. He made an expression as if he had said something wrong. He laughed dryly and changed the topic. "I still need to think about it. I can't give you an answer right now. You should think about it, but this ghost cicada wing isn't always available. If I can't get the Hai Na Dan before the auction, I will keep the ghost cicada wing for myself." The hooded man saw that Lin Yi was hesitating and immediately decided to add fuel to the fire. In addition to the 2 sets of high Nadan materials and the ghost cicada wing, I will add another 5 million spirit jade. How about it? This kind of condition doesn't come by randomly. If you miss it, then you've missed it. The ghost thing laughed strangely and said, "You're really bad, kid. You deliberately made him think that you can't continue refining pills in a short period of time after refining the high Nadan, so he was even more confident in making a deal with you. Senior Ghost, if you don't say it, we're still good friends. If you expose me like this, can we still have fun together in the future?" Lin Yi laughed in his heart as he talked nonsense with the ghost. However, he put on a very conflicted expression and said, "Friend, this matter is quite important. Let's not waste other people's time. Why don't we wait for the trade fair to end before we discuss in detail?" Lin Yi knew that the more he put on a show, the more the hooded man would want to trade with him, so he was not worried that he would lose the chance to get the ghost cicada wings. If it were an ordinary person, he might directly say that the deal was invalid. However, Lin Yi was sure that the hooded man might give him more benefits. He should really thank such a good person. Of course, the hooded man wanted to confirm the deal with Lin Yi on the spot. After all, there were so many people watching. However, he also knew that if he urged too much, Lin Yi might really refuse. If that happened, he would be a fool. Therefore, after thinking about it again and again, the hooded man nodded and said, "In that case, let's talk in detail later. However, I want to make it clear in advance that my request will not change." "I know, I'll tell you in detail when the time comes. You can come to the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce's residence to find me." Lin Yi laughed, looking as if he didn't want to continue talking. The hooded man's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought that he understood something. It must be that Lin Yi didn't want to disclose the details of the deal. In other words, it was very likely that he had succeeded. With this understanding, the hooded man didn't continue to insist. He immediately laughed and said, "Okay. In that case, after this, I will talk to you in detail. Believe me, you will not be disappointed with this deal." Lin Yi was very disdainful in his heart. He didn't know who this fool was. Did he really think that he was good at acting? To be honest, with such terrible acting skills, not to mention Yunxiao and Hualien Exin, even the 4 guys on the ancient battleship were much better than him. At least when they came to ask for alchemy, they would call him Master Lin to show their respect. Unlike him, who always talked about you, was he afraid that others wouldn't know that he didn't like Lin Yi? After the deal was made, the hooded man put away his things and left the stage empty for the next person who wanted to trade. Then he left the trade fair. Obviously, he had no interest in the trade fair after that. After this episode, the following transactions really became a little boring. Everyone's mind was a little scattered, and the atmosphere suddenly became as calm as water. Lin Yi asked the ghost in his heart, "Senior Ghost, what is the price of a profound level 2 pill? Is it normal for that guy just now?" The ghostly thing laughed dryly and said, "It's probably about the same. 2 sets of materials for 1 pill, plus the ghost cicada wing and 5 million spirit jades, it's very generous. A normal profound level 2 pill should be about this, right?" Well, when Lin Yi heard this, he knew that he had asked in vain. This was obviously a case of pretending to understand something. "No, I have to ask how much it costs to refine a profound level 2 pill. I can't lose out. It's rare to meet such a good person. I must seize this opportunity and extort more." Lin Yi calculated for a moment. In any case, he had to make up for the loss of rejecting Hualien Exin. Speaking of which, this was also an opportunity. He had promised Zhuang Yifan that he would help him refine the Hai Na pill. It was just that his cultivation was not high enough at that time. Now that he could refine it together, he could give one to him and fulfill his promise. Chapter 59:13. What the hell are you laughing at if you don't know how to laugh at me? The thing raged and returned to Lin Yi's double critical strike. Thinking about it, the only person in the entire North Island who had the most right to speak about mystic level 2 elixir refinement was probably that weird girl, Li Zhaoyi. If Lin Yi wanted to ask about this, she was the most suitable person. But Kai Zhongyang and Hou Guanqi were Zhang Liju's disciples, after all, so they should know something, right? Lin Yi wasn't too sure, so he sent a mental message to ask the two beside him. He was sure that they really didn't know. It seemed like he still had to go find Li Zhaoyi. Lin Yi wasn't interested in the deal after anyways, so he quietly said goodbye to them, saying that he had something to do and would meet back at his place. He then left alone. The hooded man left first, and Lin Yi didn't care about him. He would definitely come find him when the time came, so he didn't need to worry at all. After a few turns, Lin Yi quickly found the place of the Dan Hall, and after telling the disciple guarding the door that he was looking for Li Zhaoyi, he waited quietly at the door. If it was someone else who wanted to see Li Zhaoyi, the disciple guarding the door would most likely ignore them, but Lin Yi's name was very famous in Middle Island, especially in the Dan Hall, so the disciple didn't dare to neglect him. He quickly ran in to inform Lin Yi and then ran back respectfully. "Master Lin, Master Li Zhaoyi invites you." "Thank you." Lin Yi smiled and cupped his fists in thanks. He wouldn't put on airs when someone was being polite to him. After entering the door, he saw Li Zhaoyi standing at the door. Lin Yi was slightly surprised. He didn't think that this weird girl would actually be there to greet him personally. He was flattered. Seeing Lin Yi come in, Li Zhaoyi immediately smiled and nodded. "Lin Yi, did you come to find me because you want to work with me to concoct the elixir?" Lin Yi couldn't help but slap his forehead. How could he forget about this? No wonder this weird girl would come out to wait for him. It was a misunderstanding. Since he always wanted to concoct the elixir himself, he didn't even consider Li Zhaoyi, but she obviously didn't think that way. Thinking about it, it made sense. Lin Yi and Li Zhaoyi didn't have much interaction, and the only thing that could make him come in person was to concoct the elixir? "I'm sorry, don't mention the matter of concocting the elixir. I came to you today for something else." Lin Yi was straightforward. He said that there was no hope for cooperation, and he wasn't afraid that Li Zhaoyi would kick him out immediately. Fortunately, Li Zhaoyi's manners were good, and she wouldn't kick him out immediately. She just put away the smile on her face and nodded coldly. "I see. Then you sit for a while and drink a few cups of tea. I'm a little busy and I'll talk to you later." Lin Yi was speechless. This girl was really realistic. Knowing that it was not a matter of cooperation, she didn't even want to talk more. Drink a few cups of tea? It was estimated that she wouldn't come back even after drinking a few buckets of tea. "Wait, I have something to ask you. It won't take much of your time." Lin Yi took 2 steps forward and hurriedly stopped Li Zhaoyi. If he really let her go, he definitely wouldn't be able to see her today, unless he agreed to cooperate to concoct the elixir. Li Zhaoyi looked at Lin Yi calmly, but stood in the same place, without any intention of speaking. That expression, that look, it was as if 8 big words were written on her forehead. "If you have something to say it quickly, fart." Lin Yi scratched his head, thinking to himself, "I just refuse to cooperate with you in alchemy. Is there a need to make it so bitter and bitter? In any case, let's ask the question first. It's like this, I want to ask you, do you know how much is usually charged to concoct a mystic level 2nd level elixir?" Li Zhaoyi still didn't speak, and just looked at Lin Yi like that. Lin Yi sweated a little, and could only ask in another way. "Someone asked me to refine a sea granule elixir, and took out 2 sets of materials, a pair of ghost cicada wings, and 5 million spirit jades. Do you think this price is appropriate?" "It's a loss," Li Zhaoyi answered this time, but it was just these 2 words, and then very proudly shook her head, turned around, and went back to her room. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth twitched. He really wanted to ask if it was him or the guy who asked him to refine the elixir that lost, but he guessed that Li Zhaoyi wouldn't continue to answer, so he could only let it go. The damn thing was already laughing crazily. Lin Yi suffered a loss at Li Zhaoyi's side, and he was simply overjoyed. "Who asked you to?" Lin Yi shrugged and muttered, "It's a loss, I'm definitely a loss. This time I must make that guy bleed. He actually wanted me to suffer a loss." The hooded man who was walking into the auction house felt an inexplicable chill. He didn't know what was going on, but he had a bad premonition. After leaving the pill hall, Lin Yi didn't go to the trade fair, but directly returned to the 5 Elements Commerce station and waited for the hooded man to come find him. About an hour later, this guy came looking for him alone. Wei Shenjin and the others hadn't returned yet, but because of Lin Yi's prior instructions, the people of 5 Elements Commerce directly brought him to the living room. After receiving the notice, Lin Yi strolled over unhurriedly. Anyway, Ghost Cicada Wing couldn't run away, so there was nothing for him to be anxious about. Lin Yi, have you thought about it? Do you accept my conditions? The hooded man sat on the chair, and didn't have any intention of getting up to welcome Lin Yi, and his tone didn't have any sense of respect. It looked like he wasn't asking Lin Yi to refine the elixir, but Lin Yi was begging him to refine the elixir. Lin Yi didn't care. Anyway, in his eyes, this idiot was a pile of walking spiritual jades. What was the point of haggling with spiritual jades? I thought about it, and it's still a little difficult. Now that there's no one else, I'm not afraid to tell you honestly, I can refine the Hai Na elixir, but after refining it, I might not have the ability to complete the alchemy commission at the auction. This is something that will ruin my reputation, so I'm very hesitant. Lin Yi's face was full of embarrassment, and he said it as if it was the truth. This made the hooded man feel relieved. Chapter 59:14. In fact, the reason he went to the auction house just now was to confirm this matter. Could the auction items that had already been announced be cancelled? The answer was yes. But there would be very severe punishment, that is, they must compensate 3 to 5 times the starting price of the auction item, and at the same time, cancel the qualification of the consignor to participate in the auction, and expel them from the extreme North Island for 10 years. Although this auction house was also the property of the extreme North Li family, with the relationship between Lin Yi and Li Ziyu, he may not be punished much, but this would have a fatal blow to the reputation of the auction house, and the extreme North Li family may not necessarily take the initiative to break their own rules. Even if Lin Yi only compensated 30 million spirit jades in the end, the hooded man would be satisfied. At least it could cause a conflict between Lin Yi and the extreme North Li family, and at the same time, damage Lin Yi's reputation. As long as it could make him lose his reputation, everything would be worth it. When he goes back to the Middle Island, the reputation of Tiandan Pavilion will be ruined. Lin Yi didn't know the little plan in this guy's heart. He still pretended to be embarrassed. 10 million spirit jades is still too little. This is a profound level 2 pill. In the entire Heavenly Island, how many people can refine it? As far as I know, the alchemists who can refine profound level 2 pills, they only exist in the Profound Sea region. I am absolutely the only one here. These words were not nonsense. The hooded man himself admitted this, so he nodded involuntarily and said, "You have a point. 15 million spirit jades. This is the final offer. I can't go any higher. After all, I have provided 2 sets of materials. More importantly, I have also provided a pair of ghost cicada wings." Lin Yi slapped the table and said, "Good. Great. Then give me 20 million spirit jades." The hooded man almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "Didn't you King agree? Didn't you say it was great? Why did you raise the price again? Didn't you say 15 million spirit jades? How about it? This is the price that I vomited blood. It can't be cheaper. If you agree, then I will refine the pill. If you don't agree, then forget it. Stop talking nonsense." Lin Yi estimated that this price was about the limit that the other party could afford. Since he was going to make a profit, it was fine as long as it was reasonable. The hooded man wanted to cry but had no tears. He was, of course, Zheng Tianqing, the great young master Zheng. Qian Xiaodong had charged him a friendly discount for a pair of ghost cicada wings, and he had almost jumped off a building. Now, Lin Yi had offered a price that would cause him to vomit blood. What was wrong with this world? Why were there profiteers everywhere? Without waiting for Zheng Tianqing to speak, Lin Yi suddenly frowned and said, "Wait, let me calculate. It seems like it's still too much of a loss. Deal." Zheng Tianqing hurriedly raised his hand and shouted. This was too much of a loss? He didn't even have enough blood to vomit, okay? Before Lin Yi had time to say whether he agreed or not, Zheng Tianqing directly took out 3 jade boxes and threw them to Lin. At the same time, he threw 2 purple spirit jade cards over and said, 2 sets of materials, a pair of ghost cicada wings, and 20 million spirit jades. It's all yours. When can you start refining the pill? Lin Yi took it and praised, "You really know how to do business. I originally wanted to ask for 30 million spirit jades, but you just closed the deal. Forget it, I will take care of you for the first time. Next time you come to me for refining pills, I won't let you off so easily. Zheng Tianqing looked around for a knife and directly stabbed this bastard to death. This was 2F** King Evil. How could this be considered doing business? How could this be considered letting him off so easily? No, stabbing this bastard to death with a knife was too easy. He had to cut him into pieces. Unfortunately, Zheng Tianqing knew that even if there were 10 of him tied up, he wouldn't be able to defeat Lin Yi with one finger, so he could only think of this happy scene in his heart. In reality, it was better not to mention it. Lin Yi suppressed his excitement and calmly put away the ghost cicada wings and the 2 purple spirit jade cards, and then opened the 2 jade boxes of elixirs to have a look. There was no problem, and the pill recipe was also prepared. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "Not bad, not bad. Since I have accepted your things, then I will start refining the pill now. You can come to get it tomorrow night. Are you sure you can succeed? If you fail, I want you to compensate me." Zheng Tianqing suddenly felt a little unwilling. He had taken out so many things at once. If he couldn't get them back, wouldn't he go bankrupt? Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "I have already said that if you come to me for refining pills, I will definitely compensate you in full if you fail. You can rest assured, now you can go. Don't delay my refining." Zheng Tianqing snorted and said, "That's for the best, remember what you said. I will come back tomorrow night." After this guy left, Lin immediately returned to his room, took out the jade box containing the ghost cicada wings and opened it. It seemed to be empty, there was nothing inside. However, Lin Yi's divine sense could clearly find a pair of invisible cicada wings. It was invisible because this pair of ghost cicada wings was slightly vibrating and constantly changing its shape, as if it was adapting to the subtle flow of the air. Finally got it. It was really not easy. Lin Yi let out a long breath. With this ghost cicada wings, he could finally refine the ghost speed wings. Lightning escape plus ghost speed wings. This combination made Lin Yi inexplicably excited. Not to mention the matter of escape in a battle, how powerful the combination of Thunder Ghost and Thunder Ghost would be, it really could only be known after trying it. The ghost thing was also very happy. The stronger Lin Yi's life-saving ability was, the safer he would be. To be honest, Lin Yi was indeed the luckiest guy he had ever seen. Otherwise, he would not have soared to such strength in just a few years. Alright, don't be cocky, hurry up and refine the pills. The ghost thing was happy, but when it was time to hit Lin Yi, it was still merciless. Lin Yi smiled faintly and ignored it. After putting away the ghost cicada wings, he took out the Shenong cauldron. As he entered the Hai Na Dan's pill formula into the automatic alchemy system, he said to the ghost thing, "Senior Ghost, why do you think that guy is refining the Hai Na Dan? With his strength, he is still far from being able to take the Hai Na Dan." The ghost thing said lazily, "Why do you care so much about him? Maybe he only has this kind of profound level 2 material, maybe he wants to use it in the future, maybe he wants to auction it at the auction, or maybe he wants to give it to someone as a favor. It doesn't matter." Chapter 59:15. The ghost thing laughed strangely and said, "You really think too much. Anyway, you already have the lightning escape technique. Under normal circumstances, even a C-splitting stage supermaster may not be able to catch you. If you add the ghost speed wings, your chance of escaping is still about 50%. The lightning escape technique and the ghost speed wings only have a 50% chance of escaping?" Lin Yi was shocked. He still underestimated a C-splitting stage supermaster. The ghost thing disdainfully said, "What do you think? This is the weakest early C-splitting stage cultivator, the kind that just advanced. When your strength is slightly stabilized, your chance of escaping will continue to decline. So kid, hurry up and cultivate to improve your strength." Lin Yi was speechless. He was already working very hard. In terms of speed of cultivation, there might not be many people in the entire Heaven Stage Island who could match him. Unfortunately, his strength was really not enough for a Magnate Realm Master. Forget it, the boat will cross the bridge when it comes to it. Let's refine the Hai Na Dan first. Lin Yi shrugged and turned his thoughts back to alchemy. After the Hai Na Dan's recipe was entered into the system, it was quickly analyzed and generated an alchemy script. Lin Yi directly put in 2 sets of materials. As a result, he expected to produce 4 high na dan. It was really a pleasant surprise. Even if he gave one to Zhuang Yifan in the future, he wasn't afraid of not having one. When the alchemy curve appeared, Lin Yi began to concentrate on alchemy. This time, it took a little longer. It took more than 8 hours. Mystic Rank 2 was really difficult. It was completely different from Mystic Rank 1. In the end, the number of pills was not the expected 4, but 1 less. He only got 3 high na dan. At the same time, the quality was also different. There was only 1 top-grade high na dan, and the remaining 2 were not bad. They were both top-grade high na dan. It's a pity that one was wasted. These are all spirit jades. The ghost thing sighed and said. In fact, it didn't care. It just said it for fun. Lin Yi's state of mind was pretty good. He put away the 3C granule pills in satisfaction and said, "It's already very good to have such a result for the first time refining a mystic grade 2 pill. You won't lose face if you take out a high-grade high na dan. As long as you're satisfied." The ghost said with a smile, then continued, "Do you think the guy who schemed against you will continue to ask you to refine pills after seeing you take out the high na dan?" Lin Yi nodded and said, "I think he most likely will. But that fellow already spent a lot of spirit jades. I reckon that he can't take out much spirit jades anymore, right? At most, he's just testing me. Then, do you want to accept it? Who cares how many spirit jades they have? Let's talk about it after we earn it." The ghostly thing chuckled and said, "The things you want to buy are not cheap. It's better to make more money just in case." Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "I'm not going to continue to accept it. I have to give him some hope. If I destroy his hope now, it won't be fun in the future. It's just spirit jades. When can I not earn it?" The ghost praised him sincerely. "You're right. You're getting worse and worse." Lin Yi also said modestly, "Not at all. It's just that one is marked by the company one keeps." "Are you saying that I've been led astray by you? Senior Ghost, although you don't have a body yet, you can't be so shameless, right?" After the two of them chatted for a while, Lin Yi calmed his mind. He took out the ancient books he bought and carefully studied them. The knowledge of elixirs was very useful to him. Therefore, most of the time, he was reading the herbal essentials. Occasionally, he would also study the array Dao. The ghost thing didn't dabble much in elixirs, but it was definitely an expert in the array Dao. This made Lin Yi's progress quite fast. A day passed quickly. Lin Yi was so focused on studying the ancient books that he almost forgot about the matter of the elixirs. It was not until Wei Shenjin came to call him that he knew that the creditors had come to the door. "Boss, there are 2 people at the door. One is Yun Xiao, and the other is the hooded man from yesterday's trade fair. Both of them said that they are looking for boss to get elixirs." Wei Shenjin touched the restriction outside the room and reported loudly. Lin Yi opened the door and said, "Invite them to the living room. I'll be there soon." "Yes, boss." Wei Shenjin simply agreed and turned to walk to the door. Lin Yi took out 4 jade bottles for elixirs and held them in his hand. He came to the living room and sat down. Not long after, Yun Xiao and Zheng Tianqing, who was disguised as the hooded man, came in. Yun Xiao respectfully cupped his fists and bowed. "Yun Xiao greets Master Lin. Tomorrow is the date of the auction. I wonder if Master Lin has finished?" As for Zheng Tianqing, he didn't mean to greet Lin Yi at all. He directly sat on the chair and then asked, "Is my high na dan refined?" Lin Yi ignored Zheng Tianqing and slightly cupped his fists at Yun Xiao. "Sect Master Yun, please sit down and talk. Your elixirs have been refined. These 3 jade bottles are it. You can check them." How could Yun Xiao be in the mood to sit down? He quickly picked up the 3 jade bottles that Lin Yi placed on the coffee table. After opening them one by one, he nodded excitedly and said, "That's right. These are the 3. Thank you, Master Lin. Yun Xiao will leave first." "Sect Master Yun, don't you want to sit down and have a cup of tea?" Lin Yi asked casually. He didn't have any intention of keeping him. Yun Xiao hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Master Lin. This Yun still has important matters, so I won't disturb you today. I'll visit Master Lin another day. Goodbye." After speaking, he turned around and left with the 3 jade bottles. He was very straightforward. Zheng Tianqing looked at the leaving Yun Xiao thoughtfully. He even forgot that Lin Yi ignored him. Zheng Tianqing knew that Tong Wushuan looked for Yun Xiao for help, but Tong Wushuan said that he only agreed to refine 2 elixirs when he looked for Lin Yi to refine elixirs, but he gave a total of 5 sets of materials. At that time, Zheng Tianqing didn't doubt it. He didn't expect that Yun Xiao took away 3 elixirs. How could this not make him suspicious? However, this matter wasn't important, so Zheng Tianqing put it aside first. He would ask Tong Wushuan when he returned. Now, the main thing was to get the Hai Na Dan and see if Lin Yi still had the ability to continue refining elixirs. Lin Yi, is my Hai Na Dan done? Don't let me down. Zheng Tianqing said very solemnly. In fact, he thought that it would be better if Lin Yi couldn't take it out. Anyway, this guy pretended yesterday that he would compensate in full if he failed. Chapter 59:16. If he could get back the ghost cicada wings that Lin Yi wanted, it would be even more perfect. Lin Yi looked at Zheng Tianqing as if he was looking at an idiot, pointed to another jade bottle on the tea table and said, "Don't you see the jade bottle that contains the elixir? If you have bad eyesight, don't wear a hood like others, it's easy to hit the wall." Zheng Tianqing's face became hot. He really didn't see the jade bottle that Lin Yi put aside. He immediately cursed Lin Yi in his heart for being treacherous. He must have done this deliberately to humiliate him. If Lin Yi knew what he was thinking, he would definitely tell him politely that there was no need to go through so much trouble to humiliate him. Who would have the time to play those roundabout tricks? After coughing twice to cover up, Zheng Tianqing picked up the jade bottle and opened it to have a look. Sure enough, there was a high-quality sea granule pill inside. To be honest, he really didn't know how to describe his feelings at this time. It was obvious that the plan had succeeded, but when he saw this elixir, he didn't feel any joy in his heart. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "There's no problem with the elixir, right? If there's no problem, our deal is completed. You can go." Zheng Tianqing put away the jade bottle, took a deep breath and said, "Refine another elixir for me. The price is still the original, how about it?" Lin Yi simply shook his head and said, "No." Zheng Tianqing was stunned and continued to test, "I'll add another 10 million spirit jades?" Lin Yi looked at Zheng Tianqing with a little impatience and said coldly, "You can go. I won't see you out." "Hey, what's with your attitude?" Zheng Tianqing stood up fiercely and said angrily. In fact, he was very proud in his heart. The more Lin Yi behaved like this, the more it showed that his plan had succeeded. This time, Lin Yi didn't even want to talk to him anymore. He turned around and left. This idiot Zheng Tianqing really was an idiot. He didn't care what kind of attitude he had when he was asking for a pill, but he was still picking on the refiner. Zheng Tianqing snorted a few more times behind him. Seeing that Lin Yi had already left, he left the Department of 5 Elements Commerce with satisfaction. After making a few turns, Zheng Tianqing removed his hood in a hidden place and quickly returned to his place. His 2 grandfathers were waiting for his news. "Grandpa, second grandpa, it's a success." As soon as they entered the room, Zheng Tianqing didn't even have time to close the door and excitedly reported the good news. Zheng Dongsheng signaled him not to be anxious. He closed the door and placed a restriction on it before asking with a smile, "Are you sure that brat Lin Yi can't perform alchemy?" "He definitely can't do alchemy. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so uninterested in my offer." Zheng Tianqing's face was full of pride, and he told the story of how he had asked Lin Yi to concoct pills at a higher price, but had been directly rejected. Zheng Dongjue stroked his beard and laughed, "Good. Well done. Tianqing is really our Zheng family's Qilin. With you here, our Zheng family will definitely prosper." Zheng Tianqing was rarely modest and said, "Second grandpa is overpraising me. It's all thanks to grandpa and second grandpa's nurturing." This attitude, the 2 old men were even more satisfied. The wrinkles on their faces were almost blooming with smiles. Zheng Tianqing took out the jade bottle containing the Hai Na Dan and handed it to Zheng Dongxing. "Grandpa, that brat Lin Yi really has the ability to show off. He actually successfully refined a profound level 2 Hai Na Dan, and the quality is also high. Take a look." Zheng Dongxing's expression became dignified. Before seeing it with his own eyes, Even if Lin Yi himself said that he could refine a profound level 2 Dan, he still held a skeptical attitude. Now that it was confirmed, his mood was completely different. A mystic second-level alchemist, not to mention the East Continent's Yellow Class C, even if he went to the Mystic Class C, it would be very easy for him to gain a place. Offending such an alchemist was definitely not a good thing. It really is a high-quality Hai-Na Dan. This Lin Yi can't be left alive. Otherwise, our Zheng family will be destroyed by him sooner or later. Zheng Dongsheng carefully checked the Hai-Na Dan in the jade bottle and said with a gloomy expression. Zheng Dongjue's fingers on the tea table gently tapped on the table. After a while, he sighed, Lin Yi is so easy to kill, he has already died many times. Let's put this matter aside for now. Let's first solve this matter and then we'll discuss it. Zheng Dongsheng nodded and didn't say much about this topic. He turned to put away the Hai-Na Dan and said, Dongjue, I'll keep this Hai-Na Dan. Whether we can go back to the East Continent or not depends on whether this Hai-Na Dan can satisfy Zhuang Yifan. I heard that Lin Yi, that kid, relied on a Digu Dan to get Zhuang Yifan's appreciation. This time we'll give him a Hai-Na Dan, at least it should not be a problem to go back to the East Continent. If cousin can go back to the East Continent, it is a necessary step for our Zheng family to rise. A mere Hai-Na Dan is nothing. Zheng Dongsheng waved his hand indifferently. In fact, the herbs used to refine the Hai-Na Dan were from Dan Hall and Zheng Dongsheng. The spiritual jades were Zheng Tianqing's. He didn't lose anything, so it was normal for him to be generous. Tianqing, do you have any ideas on how to make things difficult for Lin Yi at the auction? This matter was handled beautifully. Even Zheng Dongjue valued Zheng Tianqing a lot more. Even when he asked questions, he had to wear a warm smile. Zheng Tianqing pretended to be reserved and said with a smile, I'm about to report to Grandpa and Second Grandpa. At that time, on the last night before the auction, the northernmost island was still calm on the surface. However, no one could know what kind of undercurrent was surging behind the scenes. When dawn broke the next day, the quiet northernmost island suddenly became lively. Today was the day when the top auction that only happened once in a few years or even a dozen years officially began. The long-awaited guests got up early to prepare, waiting to enter the auction and squander the spiritual jades in their hands. Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. However, Wei Shenjin strolled around the courtyard early in the morning. From time to time, he would walk around the door of Lin Yi's room. Although he didn't say anything, the meaning was obvious, boss. It's time to get up and go. When Lin Yi came out, Kai Zhongyang was almost ready. The three of them walked together towards the auction house. 5 Elements Commerce had its own box, so Kai Zhongyang would be separated from Lin Yi in the end. It was the same for Hong Zhong and Hou Guanqi, so the two of them didn't come to meet up. Brother Kai, which box is 5 Elements Commerce? I'll pay attention to it at that time, so that I won't fight with you. Lin Yi thought of this, so he asked with a smile. Chapter 59:17. Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know yet, Li Ziyu gave me a sign that doesn't specify a private room. When the time comes, I'll see which one is empty and directly go in. Anyway, you'll go with me, so I'm not afraid of not being able to find it. As they spoke, they had already arrived at the auction house. At this time, there were already many people who entered at the entrance, but these were all seats in the hall on the first floor. Lin Yi and the others had a private room on the second floor, which belonged to the VIP seats. The entrance was also in the other direction. The auction house was specially responsible for leading the VIP on the second floor to their private room. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that before he entered, he saw 2 guys who didn't like him. One was Qian Xiaodong and the other was Yu Ziqing. Hey, isn't that Master Lin Yi? What a coincidence! Qian Xiaodong sneered and waved his hand at Lin Yi, snorted and said, I heard that you've earned a lot of spirit jades from alchemy these days. Do you want to buy something? Let me tell you, with this young master here, you brat, don't even think about buying a single treasure. Uncle Li, who was beside him, smiled bitterly. The news that Lin Yi had successfully refined a profound grade 2 Dan had already spread in a small area. It was definitely not a good thing to offend such a powerful alchemist. If possible, it was best to turn enemies into friends. Unfortunately, looking at Qian Xiaodong's appearance, He wouldn't stop until he offended people to death. On the other side, Yu Ziqing also smiled coldly and said, Xiaodong, you're wrong. Even without you, he can't buy anything. These two were both students of Xixing Academy, and they were both young city lords. They were close to each other on weekdays, so their relationship was very good. Now it was clear that they wanted to join forces to deal with Lin Yi. Lin Yi frowned slightly. The strength of these two brats was nothing great, but their financial resources were by no means ordinary. If they joined forces to snipe what Lin Yi wanted, it would really be a more troublesome thing. Seeing that Lin Yi's face was a little ugly, Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing suddenly laughed and proudly turned away with their respective guards. Kai Zhongyang whispered, Brother Lin, you don't need to pay attention to them. If there's something you like, you can tell me or President Hong and use the name of our Chamber of Commerce to take action. I don't think they will destroy it. This was indeed a way. If Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing only stared at Lin Yi and let others bid, it might not attract their attention. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Don't worry, Brother Kai. It's just a small matter. I'll take care of it. If I really can't handle it, I'll ask for your help. Kai Zhongyang nodded with a smile and said, That's right. We're brothers, there's no need to be polite. Let's go and see which boxes those two second-generation rich kids are in. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He'd wanted to pick a random room as long as he didn't attract too much attention. But now, he didn't mind being a bit more conspicuous. At the very least, he'd let those two idiots know where he was, in case they found the wrong person. With a slight sweep of his divine sense, Lin Yi already knew that Qian Xiaodong was in the 5th box, and Yu Ziqing was in the 6th box. The people in the first 10 boxes were extremely distinguished. Kai Zhongyang and the others were all outside the 10th box, which could explain this problem. But the jade card in Lin Yi's hand was personally given to him by Li Ziyu. This gave him the privilege to choose any of the first 10 boxes, even if it was a box reserved by others. If others had already entered the box, then naturally, the honored guest could not be driven out. But as long as they have not entered the box, the jade card could be used to choose at will. There was no other way. This was the Li family's place. No one had the right to interfere where people wanted to sit in their own home. No matter how distinguished the guest was, the host should choose first, right? Lin Yi pinched the jade card representing the Li family in his hand. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. He called out to Kai Zhongyang and quickly chased after them. Qian Xiaodong arrived at the door of the 5th box first. He was preparing to use the jade card to open the door. Lin Yi directly stopped him and said, Sorry, this is my box. Really a country bumpkin. He doesn't even know where his box is. Qian Xiaodong said to Yu Ziqing with a smile. The disdain on his face was not concealed at all. Lin Yi was not angry. He just smiled and said, It's really hard to say who is the country bumpkin. But this box is mine, so there is absolutely no mistake. Qian Xiaodong sneered and raised his hand to show his jade card. The number 5 was clearly engraved on it. Look carefully, country bumpkin. This is my box. If you want to die, you should choose a better place. This is not a suitable place to bury your cheap bones. Yu Ziqing also laughed and chimed in, Little Dong, don't blame him. This idiot might have bought a fake jade tablet outside, and it just so happens to be from the 5th box. Sigh, a bumpkin will always be a bumpkin. It's normal that he can't get a good jade tablet. Lin Yi looked at the two self-righteous fools as if they were fools. He said with a sneer, Haven't you heard of my relationship with the Li family in the extreme north? It seems that you haven't heard of it. As soon as you leave the sphere of influence of your father in the East Continent, your stupidity and incompetence are immediately exposed. Qian Xiaodong was furious. He turned to Uncle Li and said, Uncle Li, take this bastard down. Uncle Li did not make a move. Instead, he lowered his head and whispered, Young master, this is the auction house of the extreme North Island. It is not a place to fight. To be honest, Uncle Li really did not want to fight with Lin. After a short test last time, he found that Lin Yi was not simple. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was unfathomable. This kind of person could not be easily killed unless he was 100% sure. Otherwise, it would cause a lot of trouble for Rapid City. Qian Xiaodong was slightly stunned. The experience at the extreme North Chamber of Commerce was still fresh in his memory. The auction house was probably guarded by more strong people. If he made a move here, someone would probably appear to stop him. It was indeed not a good place to fight. Lin Yi was not afraid of them making a move. Uncle Li was only at the early stage of the mountain opening realm. In addition, there was also an unprepossessing middle-aged woman at the early stage of the mountain opening realm beside Yu Ziqing. Even if the two of them joined hands, it would not be difficult for Lin Yi to deal with them. As long as they dared to make a move, Lin Yi would dare to kill them here. Unfortunately, the guy called Uncle Li was very calm. He stopped Qian Xiaodong, who was about to go berserk, with one sentence. Lin Yi flipped his hand and took out the jade card, revealing the words of the extreme North Li family. He said, "Do you see it clearly? Is this room number 5 mine?" Chapter 59:18. Anyone who bought a jade card for the first 10 rooms would receive this notification, and House Li wasn't worried that there wouldn't be a room of the same level to exchange. Normally speaking, the first, second, and third rooms were reserved by House Li for their own use, and also for important guests like Lin. Uncle Li didn't wait for Qian Xiaodong to speak and said with a smile, "Since Master Lin used the jade card of the Li family in the extreme north, of course, box 5 is yours." After saying this, he immediately turned to the staff who led the way and asked, "According to the rules, we can exchange boxes of the same level. Which number is empty?" The staff said, "Number 4 next to it is empty." Normally, there wouldn't be any empty boxes left in this kind of top auction. The Li family in the extreme north only reserved boxes 1 to 3, but no one knew why there was an extra box number 4 today. The staff of the auction house had never encountered such a situation before. When Uncle Li asked him, he subconsciously pointed out the nearest private room. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Box 4 is not bad. Hurry up and send them to number 4. Sending to number 4 sounded like Lin Yi was courting death. Qian Xiaodong's face became more and more ugly. Uncle Li simply pulled him to the 4th box and whispered at the same time, "Young City Lord, number 4 is also not bad. It's convenient to monitor him, and it's also close to number 6, isn't it?" Qian Xiaodong thought it made sense, so he didn't resist too much. He glared at Lin Yi hatefully, said goodbye to Yu Ziqing, and followed Uncle Li angrily. He had already secretly vowed in his heart that he would never let Lin Yi buy anything today. In addition, as long as there was a chance, he must kill Lin. After Qian Xiaodong left, Yu Ziqing pointed at Lin Yi with his finger, meaning that he would have a good time. However, Lin didn't look at him at all, completely ignoring him. This feeling of being ignored made Yu Ziqing so angry that his chest hurt, but he couldn't do anything. He could only bring the middle-aged woman beside him into room number 6. Kai Zhongyang smiled bitterly, "Brother Lin, why are you doing this? They were already targeting you. You have the right to choose the private room, so you should have let them not know your exact location. Now, you're being attacked from both sides. Do you really want to fight with them today?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Brother Kai, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. You go to your box first. If you need help, I'll ask Wei Shenjin to look for you." "All right, as long as you know what you're doing." Kai Zhongyang didn't say anything more. He knew that Lin Yi's ability was much stronger than his, so he really didn't need to worry about anything. "Speaking of which, if they see that I'm with you, I'm afraid that they will also come to compete for the items that I bid on. Maybe I won't be able to help you today." Lin Yi was slightly startled and said, "That's possible. Brother Kai, it seems that I've implicated you. However, these 2 brats' spiritual jades won't be limitless. Once they finish spending it, it will be quiet." Kai Zhongyang thought that Lin Yi was comforting him, so he didn't take it to heart. After saying a few more words, he directly went to the 5 elements commerce box. Lin Yi brought Wei Shenjin into the 5th box and casually looked around. The entire box was about 15 to 16 square meters. The space was pretty good. Facing the auction stage was a transparent crystal membrane. From the box, one could clearly see the main hall and the auction stage, but from the main hall, one couldn't see in. In front of the crystal membrane, there were 2 comfortable chairs. In front of the chairs was a circular crystal stage. According to the description on it, it was used for bidding and completing transactions. In addition, there was a cabinet in the box. There were all kinds of precious spiritual fruits and spiritual tea placed on it for the user to use. On the other side, there was even a soft mattress. If there was a need, one could lie on it and take a nap at any time. After Lin sat down on the chair, he called out to Wei Shenjin and said, "You sit too. Don't be shy. Or do you want to look for Miss Shang?" Wei Shenjin smiled awkwardly and said, "No, Yu Hua is with Uncle Shang. Let's talk about it after today's auction is over." While talking, Wei Shenjin took out a fruit plate with spiritual fruits from the cabinet and put it on the tea table next to Lin. Then he made some spiritual tea. After a while, he sat on the other chair. The two chatted for a while. The hundreds of seats in the main hall were almost full. The box should be almost full as well. Looking down from above, Lin could see some familiar faces. He knew some of them, but he couldn't name some of them. After a short while, a graceful woman dressed in palace attire appeared on the auction stage. She walked elegantly to a small hosting stage, and as her bright eyes wandered, she looked around the entire hall and the VIP boxes on the second floor. "Welcome, distinguished guests, to the northernmost island. I'm the chief auctioneer of the northernmost auction house, Huang Wenjing. I'm honored to host today's auction and witness the grand occasion of this top-notch auction with distinguished guests." Huang Wenjing smiled. Her voice was soft and clear. She spoke at a moderate speed. Even if she didn't use a sound amplification array, it could ensure that everyone in the auction house could clearly hear what she said. Just with these two sentences, the originally noisy hall suddenly quieted down. Everyone's eyes gathered on Huang Wenjing on the stage. Huang Wenjing smiled sweetly and said, "This feeling of being the center of attention is really good. It makes me feel like I'm really shining. Unfortunately, I also know that everyone is just anxious about when I can enter the official auction, and not because they really want to see me talk nonsense. All right, as you wish, today's auction officially begins." Huang Wenjing smiled sweetly and said, "This feeling of being the center of attention is really good." There was a slight laughter under the stage. A beautiful woman could be humorous. In any case, there would always be people who would support her. Just by looking at Huang Wenjing's straightforward start of the auction, many people had a good impression of this beautiful auctioneer. In the middle of the auction stage, a square table the size of a tea table rose. On top of it, a white jade tray was covered with a transparent crystal cover. There was a small black ring on it. Chapter 59:19. There was a burst of gasps in the hall. Storage bags were almost impossible to see on the Heavenstep Island, let alone a storage ring. The storage bag that Lin had just obtained was already a very precious thing. It would not be a problem to say that this ring was thousands of times more precious than his storage bag. Huang Wenjing slightly paused and a trace of satisfaction flashed in her beautiful eyes. The opening bid was the desired effect. As long as the atmosphere was stirred up, the following auction would definitely be much smoother. The starting price of this storage ring is 10 million spirit jades. Each increment must be no less than 500,000 spirit jades. Now, I invite interested friends to bid boldly. Huang Wenjing's words were not too provocative, but people who heard it couldn't help but bid. They felt that they would miss out if they didn't bid. 11 million spirit jades. Someone in the hall immediately bid and directly increased the bid by 1 million spirit jades. More than 90% of the people present didn't know the price of a storage ring. However, with such a large space, even a fool would know that it was absolutely not something that could be bought with 10 or 20 million spirit jades. If Lin didn't have the space of the jade pendant, he would definitely find a way to bid for this storage ring. Even if he didn't have the hidden storage bag, he would still go all out to bid for it. As for now, he wasn't interested at all. He wasn't interested in the ring, but it was still necessary to participate in the auction. In any case, he wanted to see how determined Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing were to deal with him. In the short span of a few breaths, the bidding price instantly broke through 20 million spirit jades and approached the 30 million mark. Lin Yi's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He placed his hand on the crystal ball in front of him and lightly said, 50 million spirit jades. His voice didn't spread out. Instead, it was transformed into a price and appeared on the projection array in the hall. This price directly crushed all the previous bids. The hall instantly became quiet. It wasn't that the price of 50 million was too high. Compared to this storage ring, the price of 50 million spirit jades was not high at all. However, Lin Yi directly doubled the original price. This kind of momentum suddenly stunned most of the people below. 50 million spirit jades. The guest in booth number 5 bids 50 million spirit jades, 60 million spirit jades. Huang Wenjing hadn't even finished her sentence when she immediately raised her voice and turned towards the direction of booth number 4. The guest in booth number 4 has bid 60 million spirit jades. This is the highest bid so far. Lin Yi smiled faintly. As expected, Qian Xiaodong had made a move. Let's see how much he wanted to snipe Lin Yi. 100 million spirit jades. Lin Yi was not in the mood to test Qian Xiaodong's bottom line bit by bit, so he directly increased the bid by 40 million. Although the storage ring was of no use to Lin Yi, he could give it to someone else if he really wanted. After all, there was only one space in the jade pendant, and it would be much more convenient to have a storage ring. 100 million spirit jades. The VIP guest in booth 5 raised the price to 100 million spirit jades. I want to say that this price is definitely not a loss, because this kind of storage ring has been passed down from ancient times. It is not something that can be obtained easily. 150 million spirit jades. Booth number 4 bids 150 million spirit jades. Huang Wenjing didn't expect that the first round would be so hot. Although the storage ring was a good thing, wasn't the bidding too outrageous? The starting price of 10 million spirit jades was indeed very low. This was also a decision made to hype up the atmosphere of the auction. Now it seemed that the effect was really good. At least this kind of hot bidding was really rare. Huang Wenjing originally wanted to take some time to introduce the background of the storage ring, but it seemed that there was no need, so she simply presided over the auction with peace of mind. In booth number 4, Uncle Li slightly frowned and reminded, "Young City Lord, isn't this increase in price a bit too much? Even if we have enough spirit jades, we can't waste it for battle chi, right? After all, our target is not this thing." Qian Xiaodong smiled sinisterly and said, "Uncle Li, don't worry, I will increase the price one more time and then stop. Lin Yi, that idiot, will definitely think that I am desperate to compete with him. After my last bid, I will immediately stop, and then let him buy a storage ring to play with." Storage rings were indeed good things, but Qian Xiaodong didn't care much about it. He was the young city lord of Rapid City. If he wanted a storage ring, he could ask his father to go to the Xuanjiesi area. There was still a good chance that he could get it. At the beginning, Qian Xiaodong did intend to not let Lin Yi get a single thing, but now he felt that it would be very interesting if he could clear out Lin Yi's spirit jades in one go and become a spectator from the second round. As soon as Qian Xiaodong finished speaking, the array projection showed Lin Yi's new bid, 200 million spirit jades. The entire hall had long been quiet. It wasn't that this storage ring was not worth 200 million spirit jades, but that there was almost no one in the hall who could take out 200 million spirit jades, so the competition had now shifted to the booths on the second floor. However, most of the private rooms on the second floor chose to wait and see. If the storage rings were to be auctioned off at the end of the auction, the price might be higher. That was because by then, the items in the auction would have already been sold. Those who had extra spiritual jades would not mind spending more. As for now, in the first round of bidding, everyone was still relatively cautious. Except for Qian Xiaodong. 250 million spirit jades. Qian Xiaodong didn't think much and directly made the last bid he decided. Huang Wenjing looked at the latest bid displayed on the array projection and loudly announced, 250 million spirit jades. The VIP in booth 4 bid 250 million spirit jades. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? 250 million spirit jades in the first round was actually very good, but Huang Wenjing was still slightly dissatisfied in her heart, because the first round of bidding was too fast. If it had slowly increased, the price would have been even higher, and the atmosphere would have been even more lively. Unfortunately, there seemed to be some grudge between number 4 and number 5, and there was obviously a sense of rivalry between them. 250 million spirit jades going once. 250 million spirit jades going twice. Although Huang Wenjing felt regretful, her professionalism made her not delay at all, and directly began the countdown. Chapter 59:20. To be honest, buying such a large space ring for 250 million spiritual jades was not considered a loss. In fact, it was quite a good deal. However, Qian Xiaodong was not happy about the deal because things did not go according to his plan. 250 million spiritual jades going thrice. Congratulations to the distinguished guest in booth number 4 for obtaining this interspatial ring that has been passed down from ancient times. A delicate hammer in Huang Wenjing's palm hit the small hammer seat on the host stage, making a crisp sound. At the same time, she stretched out her arm and pointed her palm in the direction of box 4, attracting everyone's attention. That kind of beautiful posture and expression was pleasing to the eye like a dance. She really deserved to be the chief auctioneer of the Extreme North Auction House. Qian Xiaodong, who'd gotten the ring, didn't think that it was worth congratulating at all. Not being able to scheme against Lin Yi made him feel extremely unhappy, but he still had to complete the transaction. He took out his 250 million spirit jade card and placed it on the crystal platform's portal, quickly exchanging it for the ring. Young City Lord, this transaction is not a loss. I guess Lin Yi doesn't have enough spiritual jades in his hands, so he can't continue to increase the price. Uncle Li saw that Qian Xiaodong was in a bad mood, so he comforted him. Qian Xiaodong's eyes lit up and nodded. Yes, Uncle Li, what you said is very reasonable. Lin Yi probably doesn't have enough spiritual jades. He's just a country bumpkin from the North Island. If he didn't amass a lot of money these days, it would be impossible for him to have more than 100 million spiritual jades. I miscalculated and didn't consider this. It won't be like this next time. In box 5, Lin Yi shook his head and sighed. The guy next door is really rich. He got lucky. This ring is not bad. Wei Shenjin asked puzzledly, Boss, if you want it, why don't you continue to bid? If you don't have enough spiritual jades, I think President Kai, President Hong, and Uncle Shang would be happy to lend it to you. At most, you can help people refine pills. I don't want it. I just want to see how rich the kid next door is. Lin Yi smiled and shrugged indifferently. Wei Shenjin was speechless. When he saw Lin Yi and Qian Xiaodong fighting so fiercely, he thought that Lin Yi and Qian Xiaodong were determined to get the item. In the end, they were just teasing Qian Xiaodong. As he spoke, the second item had already appeared on the stage. It was a special grade mountain gazing pill. Lin Yi was a little speechless. This pill was clearly his handiwork. Who would have thought that it would be used as an auction item in the end? Regardless of whether it was refined by Lin Yi or not, it was impossible for him to participate in the auction. As a dignified mystic rank second-level alchemist, to buy this kind of pill, it was really embarrassing. Therefore, Lin Yi still felt that it was a pity. He had wasted an opportunity to cheat others. He could only hope that the next item would be useful to him. Very quickly, the mountain-gazing pill was auctioned off, and the third auction item appeared on the stage. A snow-white longsword appeared in the crystal box, and there was a faint, icy white mist rising and lingering around the sword's blade. Lin Yi said softly, "This sword is not bad. Wei Shenjin, it seems to be very suitable for you. How about it? Are you interested in buying it?" In the ancient underworld, Lin Yi had seen similar swords. For example, Bing Wuqing's Ice Soul Sword and Lung Lung's Ice Shattering Sword were equally powerful weapons. Wei Shenjin had been following Lin Yi for a long time and had helped him a lot. If he could win the bid for this sword, it would be a good idea to give it to Wei Shenjin. This sword is called the Snow Mist Sword. It is one of the best weapons for ice element cultivators. The wielder of the sword can increase the power of their mental cultivation and martial techniques by 20%. In a life or death battle, it is equivalent to temporarily increasing a small realm. Huang Wenjing did not rush to announce the start of the auction. Instead, she introduced the Snow Mist Sword's functions in detail. Wei Shenjin said longingly, "If I can have such a sword, my strength will definitely increase a lot. Boss, I will participate in the auction later. Let's see if I can win it first." It was estimated that it would be very difficult for Lin Yi to win the Snow Mist Sword in booth number 5. Moreover, the Snow Mist Sword was also useful to Ziqing. This time, it was time for this guy to come out and mess things up. Huang Wenjing's introduction was very detailed. The snow mist sword was indeed a good sword. Unfortunately, it was not common to see people who practiced ice element mental cultivation. Therefore, the price of the snow mist sword was destined to be low. The starting price of the snow mist sword is 300,000 spiritual jades. Each increment must be no less than 10,000 spiritual jades. After Huang Wenjing finished speaking, she announced the start of the auction for the snow mist sword. Compared to the storage ring, the starting price of the snow mist sword was not even a fraction. However, in the eyes of those who needed it, there was not much difference in the value of the two items. 350,000 spiritual jades. Someone in the hall immediately increased the bid by 50,000 spiritual jades. The starting price was not high, so naturally, there were more people who were interested in the snow mist sword. 360,000 spiritual jades. 380,000 spiritual jades. The bidding speed in the hall was not slow. However, only a few people were bidding. It was evident that there were not many ice element cultivators. Lin Yi smiled at Wei Shenjin. If you like it, feel free to bid. Don't worry about not having enough spiritual jades. Wei Shenjin was overjoyed. Thank you, boss. He also had some spiritual jades. However, with Lin Yi's words, there was nothing to worry about. 1 million spiritual jades. Wei Shenjin placed his hand on the crystal ball and increased the price by more than double. This was a show of confidence. As long as he could show off his imposing manner, it was very likely that he would scare off many competitors. As expected, the sudden increase in the bidding price caused the few competitors in the hall to pause for a moment. For a moment, no one made a new bid. Huang Wenjing smiled. The guest in booth 5 bid 1 million spiritual jades. It seems that he likes the snow mist sword very much. Is there anyone else who also likes the snow mist sword? At this moment, the effect of auctioning the storage ring could be seen. Although Huang Wenjing was not particularly satisfied with the first item, it was undeniable that the current bid of 1 million spiritual jades was not worth mentioning after the previous transaction of 250 million spiritual jades. If the first item was the snow mist sword, the few people in the hall who wanted it would probably give up. However, now they felt that 1 million spiritual jades was far from what they had in mind. 1,050,000 spirit jades. After a brief pause, someone in the hall began bidding again. 1,080,000 spiritual jades. Another person followed. Chapter 59:21. He really made a move. Lin Yi smiled and casually said to Wei Shenjin, "Continue bidding, ignore him." Wei Shenjin, on the other hand, had complete trust in Lin. He agreed immediately, bidding 2,200,000. The moment this bid appeared on the projection, it was instantly overshadowed by the bid of 3 million spiritual jades from booth 6. Wei Shenjin immediately quoted a price of 3.5 million spirit jades. By this time, the few people in the hall who were interested in bidding had all quieted down. Even a fool could tell that after room 5 and room 4 were fighting, they were probably going to fight with room 6. This was a person who could casually take out 200 million spiritual jades. A mere few million was far from his bottom line, so it was better to quietly watch the show from the side. In booth number 6, Yu Ziqing smiled coldly and called out a price of 7 million spirit jades, doubling Wei Shenjin's bid once again. The middle-aged woman beside him smiled and said, "Young city lord, although this snow mist sword is not bad, you already have your own weapon, so you don't need to replace it. There is not much use in buying it, right? Is it really to prevent that Lin Yi from buying anything?" Yu Ziqing put on a gentle smile and said, "Aunt Lan, don't worry. I am not an idiot like Qian Xiaodong, spending a lot of money to buy things that I don't need. When the time is right, I will let Lin Yi bid for it. As far as I know, that guy does not know any ice attribute martial techniques, so he doesn't have the snow mist sword. He is most likely giving it to his follower. Spending a lot of money to buy such a sword for his follower, I guess he will be distressed for a long time, right?" Speaking of which, Yu Ziqing learned this trick after he was cheated by Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin in the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. Now that he was using it to deal with Lin Yi, it felt pretty good. Yu Ziqing didn't really mind if Lin Yi stopped the bidding first. He could use the snow mist sword anyways, and it was fine to spend more spirit jade to buy it as a backup weapon. He had the upper hand in this auction, and he was in an invincible position. Wei Shenjin bid again. Yu Ziqing didn't even look at it and directly bid 15 million spiritual jades. At the same time, he continued to say to Aunt Lan, "Aunt Lan, did you see that kid's strength just now?" Qian Xiaodong said that his family's oldly didn't have any advantage against that kid. Aunt Lan shook her head and said, "I didn't see it clearly. That Lin Yi is a bit strange. He is actually a mystic second-level alchemist. If possible, it is best to befriend him. It will be good for our moon city." Yu Ziqing shook his head and smiled. "It's just a mystic second-rank alchemist. My father knows mystic second-level alchemists in the Mystic Sea region, so what? What's more, Qian Xiaodong and this kid have a grudge. I can't just ignore Qian Xiaodong's face, can I?" Aunt Lan didn't deny it. She knew that it was useless to persuade him again, so she could only give up. In fact, in her heart, the mystic second-level alchemists in the Mystic Sea region couldn't be compared to Lin Yi at all. Not to mention how rare it was for Lin Yi to be able to refine high-quality Haina Dan in a day. His age alone was enough for Aunt Lan to pay attention to Lin Yi's talent. Such a young mystic second-level alchemist? How could any old mystic second-level alchemist in the Mystic Sea region compare to his future potential? By the way, Aunt Lan, if you and Uncle O work together, do you think you can defeat that Lin Yi? Yu Ziqing asked casually. Uncle O was the old man who followed him at the last trade fair. He was also a master in the early mountain opening stage, and he also scanned Lin Yi with his divine sense. Aunt Lan didn't want to have a bad relationship with Lin Yi. It was just a small conflict at the moment. To put it bluntly, it was just a fight between young people. It was fine to laugh it off, but if it continued to get worse, there would be no turning back. So she said in a very uncertain tone, "It's hard to say. Lin Yi's strength is deep and hidden. It's better not to act rashly before we are sure." "You're right. Let's discuss it with Uncle O later." Yu Ziqing didn't continue to say more. He shrugged and turned his attention to the auction. Huang Wenjing, who was on the stage now, felt that she was redundant because this auction was the same as the storage ring. There was no need for her to add fuel to the fire. What's more, she almost didn't even have a chance to intervene. The starting price of 300,000 had reached 15 million in just a few minutes. It was indeed her qualification in the future, but this feeling of not being able to participate made her feel a little frustrated as the chief auctioneer. In the fifth box, Wei Shenjin looked at Lin Yi with some hesitation and said, "Boss, this price is too high. The snow mist sword is good, but it's not worth this price. I think we should forget about it." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "If you like it, don't give up. I guess Yu Ziqing won't always compete with us. He probably wants to take revenge on you for being cheated by you in the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. He can also guess that you want the snow mist sword, not me." Wei Shenjin was slightly stunned. He nodded and said, "Boss, what you said makes sense. If that's the case, shouldn't we not let him succeed?" "It doesn't matter. If you really want the snow mist sword, then don't be afraid of spending too much spiritual jades. You can't buy a good heart with 1,000 gold coins. Don't regret it if you miss it." Lin Yi shrugged and took a spiritual fruit to eat. Tens of millions of spiritual jades was not a big deal. Now he wanted to train Wei Shenjin to be independent. If everything needed to be decided by Lin Yi, it would be too hard for him. 15 million spiritual jades going once, 15 million spiritual jades going twice. Huang Wenjing began to count down. The price of the snow mist sword was already beyond her expectations. Although it had nothing to do with her, she was satisfied. Wei Shenjin's eyes narrowed. Before Huang Wenjing said the last price, the projection formation refreshed the price of 15.01 million spiritual jades. 15.01 million spiritual jades. A new bid had appeared. This was the bid of 15.01 million spirit jades from the distinguished guest in the fourth booth. Let's see if there is a new price. 15.01 million spiritual jades going once. Huang Wenjing smiled, but she felt a little strange in her heart. Before, The price increases were in the hundreds of thousands or even millions. Suddenly, there was a minimum increase. It was a little strange. This kind of scene should have appeared when the starting price was announced, right? Chapter 59:22. Yu Ziqing smiled and said, "Interesting. What is this? Are you provoking me? Or are you ready to admit defeat? 20 million spiritual jades." This was Yu Ziqing's last offer. If Lin Yi had added another 10,000 spiritual jades, he would not have increased the price. The snow mist sword was sold for 2 million spiritual jades at most. Now that it had increased to 20 million spiritual jades, it was enough for him to vent his anger. It did not matter if he bought it himself. Anyway, he was not short of spiritual jades. He would just take it as a response to Qian Xiaodong's action. After seeing the new offer, Wei Shunjin immediately let go of the crystal ball. He took a deep breath and leaned back in his chair. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You don't want it anymore?" Wei Shunjin smiled and said, "Boss, you are right. Money cannot buy a good heart. However, after thinking about it, I feel that the snow mist sword is not what I really want. If I can buy a long saber, it might be more suitable for me. This time, I will cheat that stupid rich guy again." Lin Yi smiled and nodded without saying anything. Wei Shunjin had achieved his goal as long as he had his own ideas and judgment. On the stage, Huang Wenjing smiled and shouted the last sentence, 20 million spiritual jades, going thrice. The small hammer in her hand fell, and the crisp sound of the hammer was heard. This meant that the competition for the snow mist sword had officially ended. Yu Ziqing curled his lips and said, "That guy is quite smart. It seems that it will not be easy to cheat him." "Aunt Lon, did you find out what Lin Yi is determined to get?" In Yu Ziqing's opinion, the storage ring and the snow mist sword were not things that Lin Yi was determined to get. Therefore, he would give up decisively when the price exceeded his expectations. However, if there was something that he was determined to get, he could raise the price without any scruples. Aunt Lon shook her head and said, "I don't know. I hope Uncle O has good news." Yu Ziqing shrugged nonchalantly and completed the transaction of the snow mist sword on the teleportation portal. He then picked up the snow mist sword and carefully played with it. None of the next 7 items were of interest to Lin Yi, but he would make a random bid every time. As long as he made a bid, Qian Xiaodong or Yu Ziqing would immediately follow up. However, these two fellows had also learned their lesson. They would not continue to increase the price by a large margin. Instead, they just happened to suppress Lin Yi's price. Their intentions were self-evident. Lin Yi probed a few times, and after he had more or less figured out the thoughts of these two fellows, he stopped attacking. The auction didn't come to a standstill just because Lin Yi didn't make a move. On the contrary, the scene was extremely explosive. After all, the items that could appear in this top-notch auction were definitely the best. After another half an hour, another item that Lin Yi was interested in finally appeared. Worldly phenomena. Well, the name sounded very imposing, but it was actually just a mask. Huang Wenjing was explaining the information of the worldly phenomena mask with a smile on her face. The auction had been going on for almost 4 hours. It was not easy for her to maintain such a gentle and beautiful smile. Worldly phenomena means that after using this mask, you can change your appearance at will. You can also change your aura. Under normal circumstances, even an expert in the Earth opening stage can't see through the disguise brought by the mask. If you have any enemies, you can basically sit back and relax with such a mask. Even if you walk face to face, the other party won't find out that you are their enemy. However, it doesn't mean that you can change your appearance at will. This worldly manifestation mask has been refined into different appearances in advance. You can only choose the template you already have, but you can't change into someone else you want. Huang Wenjing explained in great detail, and she didn't hide anything. She just said one thing and 2 things that she didn't want to hide. If it was a mask that could change one's appearance at will, the value would undoubtedly be much higher. But even if it could only change into a confirmed template, it was still a rare treasure. As Huang Wenjing said, as long as one had enemies with this mask, their own safety would obviously be more guaranteed. Lin Yi was interested because he had really offended a lot of people. If he could have this worldly phenomena mask in his hands, it would be much more convenient for him to act in the future. The starting price of the worldly phenomena mask is 2 million spirit jades. Each increment must not be less than 100,000 spirit jades. If there are distinguished guests who like it, you can bid now. After Huang Wenjing announced the start of the auction, the atmosphere suddenly became hot. This mask could be used to save one's life. Anyone who could participate in this kind of top-level auction, even if they were in the main hall, was a big shot. They valued their lives very much, so it was only natural that the mortal world manifestation would be sought after. In just a few breaths, the price in the hall soared all the way, directly breaking through the threshold of 5 million spirit jades, and continued to rise, but the speed was slightly slower than before. Lin Yi waited for the price in the hall to reach 7 million before he raised it to 10 million spirit jades. Although the sudden increase of 3 million spiritual jades was a bit large, everyone was already used to it. However, everyone knew that as long as Booth 5 made a move, Booth 4 and Booth 6 would definitely follow suit. Therefore, 10 million spiritual jades was only the beginning. Everyone knew that as long as Booth 5 made a move, Booth 4 and Booth 6 would definitely follow suit. Sure enough, after the bid of the fifth booth appeared, the fourth booth instantly bid 13 million spirit jades. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He had already understood that Qian Xiaodong probably really wanted this worldly phenomena mask. From the previous situation, when Qian Xiaodong bid a minimum amount higher than Lin Yi, he was purely messing around. If he increased the price by a lot, it was most likely that he really wanted it, because if Lin Yi gave up, Qian Xiaodong would continue to bid with others. Since you really want this mask, I can't let you get away with it. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he quoted a price of 15 million spirit jades. Unexpectedly, Yu Ziqing in the sixth booth also followed suit and added 2 million spirit jades. Obviously, he also wanted to participate in the competition. Since the beginning of the auction, Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing had a tacit understanding not to compete for anything. When dealing with Lin Yi, one of them also made a move, and the other did not move. This was the first time that both of them bid with Lin Yi at the same time. Oh, it's just a mask, but it actually attracted 2 young city lords of the East Continent to compete for it. It seems that these 2 fools have a lot of enemies. Lin Yi smiled and quoted a new price. Chapter 59:23. Huang Wenjing calmly took the time to broadcast the latest price on the projection formation, but her heart was already blooming with joy. The more people participated in the competition, the higher the price of the mortal world phenomenon would rise. She didn't expect that a mere mask would cause so many people to compete for it. 35 million spirit jades. The VIP in booth 10 bid 35 million spirit jades. Good. There is a new bid in booth 4, 36 million spirit jades. Huang Wenjing spoke very fast, creating a tense and intense atmosphere. In fact, it was really tense and intense now. Lin Yi hesitated slightly and directly quoted the price of 50 million spirit jades. This mask was indeed a good thing, but it was not without flaws. Huang Wenjing had just said that the earth opening stage could not see through the disguise, so wouldn't the sea splitting stage be able to see through it? Moreover, the earth opening stage might not really be able to see through it. Lin Yi's current opponents were basically at the mountain opening stage, but it was a bit difficult for the earth opening stage. With this mask, he could not guarantee that he would be able to deceive the earth opening stage masters, so its value was reduced a lot. 50 million spirit jades was already the limit set by Lin Yi for himself. If he did not want to buy the soul wood and spirit gathering branch, he could put in more spirit jades, but he obviously could not be too capricious now. Suddenly increasing the price by more than 10 million spirit jades, the people in booth 10 suddenly became silent, and before Lin Yi bid, Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing happened to walk out of their booth at the same time, wanting to negotiate with the other party. There was only one mask, and they could not kill each other, which would make it easy for Lin. In Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing's mind, after going to the other party's booth, they could still bid at any time, but they did not expect to meet at the door of booth 5. After a few words, when the 2 returned to booth 6 together, they heard Huang Wenjing announce on the stage, 50 million spirit jades, the 3rd time. The 2 subconsciously rushed to the crystal ball, wanting to continue bidding, but the crisp sound of the hammer had already sounded, and this transaction was finalized. Damn it. It's all your fault. Why are you fighting with me? Qian Xiaodong was furious. He pushed Yu Ziqing's shoulder and roared. Yu Ziqing also reached out and pushed Qian Xiaodong, saying, "If you didn't fight with me, how would this happen? Aren't you ashamed to be rude to me?" Aunt Lan quickly separated the two of them and said, "Young City Lord and young Master Qian, both of you are students of the same academy and good friends. There is no need to fight over such a small matter. It is just a mask. With your status, there is no need for such a thing." Yu Ziqing felt extremely aggrieved. He originally thought that the mask would end up in his and Qian Xiaodong's hands after discussing it with them. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would be able to obtain it because of this oversight. Which idiot was in booth 10? If you don't have any spirit jades, why did you come out and mess around? You can't even delay for a moment. What a piece of trash. Aunt Lan, why didn't you help me bid? Yu Ziqing didn't dare to blame Aunt Lan, but he still grumbled a little. Aunt Lan smiled and said, "Young City Lord, although the mask is not bad, it is definitely not worth 50 million spirit jades. The price is too high, and it is not very useful to you. So, it is not easy for me to decide." Yu Ziqing rolled his eyes and didn't say anything else. Qian Xiaodong said with a face full of misfortune, "This time, that bastard got lucky. He picked up a loophole. Ziqing, I think I should just stay here with you to prevent such a situation from happening again. Let's make this clear. If there is something that we both like, we will bid for it first. Then we will discuss who will take it. The one who takes it will give some compensation to the other. How about it?" "Alright, let's do it this way." Yu Ziqing was also helpless. His and Qian Xiaodong's financial resources were similar. If they really fought, it would only be a lose-lose situation, and Lin Yi would take advantage of it. This was the best way to discuss it. In the next booth, Lin Yi was also a little stunned. He was ready to give up. He didn't expect that the two fools would suddenly stop at the last moment. Did they think it through? In any case, after completing the transaction, Lin Yi was in a very good mood. He took the mortal Vientiane in his hand and studied it for a while before putting it on his face. This mask was as thin as a cicada's wing, but it was very elastic. It didn't feel the slightest abnormality when it covered his face. After it was completely fitted, Lin Yi's divine awareness naturally felt a mark on the mask. Moreover, he needed to refine this mark before he could really use the mask. The mortal Vientiane was really not simple. It was not an ordinary item. Lin Yi was secretly happy. His divine awareness penetrated into the mark on the mask and began to refine this mark. At this time, the benefits of a powerful divine awareness were reflected. If it was an ordinary Heaven Stage Island Profound Ascension Stage cultivator, it might take a day or two to refine it, but Lin Yi only took a dozen breaths to completely refine the mark on the mask. After completing the refining, there were hundreds of different faces in his divine awareness. Although it was not as arrogant as the name Mortal Vientiane, it was enough to surprise people that there were more than 10,000 faces. Lin Yi randomly chose the face of a middle-aged man, and the next moment, the shape of his face changed instantly. Not only that, even his body became a little more muscular, and the aura he exuded was completely different. Wei Shunjin on the side opened his mouth and looked at the changes in Lin Yi beside him. Then he showed a look of surprise and said, "Boss, this mask is too awesome. I can't recognize you when I see you change." Lin Yi took out a mobile phone from the space of the jade pendant and took a selfie of himself. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "It's true, there are no flaws at all. I don't even recognize myself." Now, Lin Yi was completely an ordinary middle-aged uncle, the kind that would disappear in a crowd. What was more rare was that his aura had also become ordinary. Even if you walked face to face with him, it would be difficult to notice him. The 50 million spirit jades were really worth it. Moreover, Lin Yi had already thought of how to use this mask to crack the malicious bidding of the two fools. Weren't they staring at the fifth box? When the Soul Wood Spirit Concentrating Branch came out, Lin Yi would put on the mask and go directly to the hall to participate in the auction. As long as he let Wei Shenjin cooperate in the box to bid for some insignificant things, he could deceive the two fools. Chapter 59-24. Wei Shenjin also smiled and said, "Boss, on the first day of the auction, the storage ring should be the best thing, but there may be a precious item at the end of the auction. Maybe it is not worse than the storage ring." Unfortunately, the auction house did not announce the detailed auction items in advance. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. Naturally, the auction house wouldn't announce it in advance. If there's only one auction, it'd be good to announce it in advance, but this auction is going to last for a few days. If we announce the catalog every day, a lot of people might not come. Only when people know all the items, but not the detailed catalog every day, will they come every day. They don't want to miss out on something they want. Maybe only on the last day could they infer what would be auctioned, but at that time, the remaining items should be the finale of the finale. No one would miss the last day of the auction. While the two were talking, the auction was still going on. All kinds of heavenly treasures and rare items took turns on the stage. Although Lin Yi did not continue to make a move, he had to sigh. This auction was indeed top-notch. Originally, he thought that the 1 or 200 million spiritual jades in his hand was enough to win the spirit gathering branch and soul wood, but unfortunately, after seeing the grand auction, he found that the spiritual jades were really not enough. In addition to the 250 million spiritual jades of the first auction of the storage ring, there was a transaction of more than 100 million spiritual jades, nearly 10 transactions of tens of millions. All of the transaction price was less than 1 million. Lin Yi now hoped that his alchemy opportunity could be auctioned for more spiritual jades, otherwise, he could only take out a part of the medicinal pills to exchange for spiritual jades. Unknowingly, the sky turned dark. After a whole day of auction, these cultivators were indeed a little tired. Although they were not physically tired, they were indeed a little tired. The first day's finale finally officially appeared. Today's last auction item is also a treasure handed down from ancient times. In today's Heaven Step Island, there is no way to imitate it. Everyone please take a look. Huang Wenjing still maintained a smile, reached out and pointed to the crystal cover. Inside was a 2-palm-sized disc, extremely complex lines crisscrossed, forming a mysterious pattern. 8th grade concealment array disc. Once activated, it can cover a space of up to 100 square meters. Even C-splitting stage experts, as long as they aren't 8th grade array masters or above, shouldn't even think of discovering the hidden space formed by this array disc. This is definitely a must-have treasure for cultivation and treasure hunting. The starting price is 10 million spirit jades, and each increment must be no less than 500,000 spirit jades. Let's start the bidding now. Huang Wenjing did not introduce the array disc too much, because it was completely unnecessary. There was no need to say much about the final item, not to mention this kind of high-grade array disc that had been passed down from ancient times. For people who didn't know what it was, it would be useless no matter how much they said. For people who knew what it was, they would know its value even without being told. For example, when Lin Yi heard that this was a level 8 concealment array disc, he immediately sat up straight. Recently, he had been studying array Dao. Of course, he knew what a level 8 array disc was. A simple comparison would make it clear. For example, the falling star array on the Okuda Dam ancient battleship was actually a level 9 array formation. From this, it could be seen how powerful a level 8 array disc was. Although an array disc was a prop refined by an array master, it was slightly weaker than an array formation that was directly arranged. Under normal circumstances, people who didn't have a high enough level would not be able to detect it. 12 million spirit jades. This time, the fastest bidder was Booth 6. Lin Yi found it strange that Booth 4 seemed to have completely given up the intention of bidding. On the contrary, Booth 6 became extremely active and kept participating in the bidding. Lin Yi still didn't know that Qian Xiaodong also went to Booth 6, which was why such a situation occurred. However, he didn't care. Tomorrow's auction would be able to get rid of the entanglement of these two guys. There were many people who knew that a level 8 array disc was a good thing, so this time the competition was extremely fierce. Although Lin Yi also had this idea, he had to save the spirit jades in his hands to buy the spirit gathering branch and the soul cultivation wood. So, he could only become a spectator again. Under Huang Wenjing's deliberate guidance, the price of the auction soared in just a few minutes, breaking through 100 million without any pause. The final price was 136 million spirit jades, and the winner was booth number 6. Distinguished guests, today's auction is over. We look forward to seeing everyone again tomorrow. Thank you. Huang Wenjing bowed gracefully on the stage. The first day of the auction had officially come to an end. When Lin Yi left with Wei Shenjin, he happened to see Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing coming out of booth 6 together. Only then did he understand why booth 4 became quiet. It turned out that these two fools had gotten together. When Qian Xiaodong saw Lin Yi coming out, he laughed and said, "Lin, you're lucky today. You've picked it up. But tomorrow, you won't be so lucky. Is it because you don't have enough spirit jades? Do you want to beg me? Maybe if I'm happy, I can give you tens of thousands of spirit jades." Lin Yi glanced at him faintly. He didn't intend to pay attention to him at all. As a famous mystic level 2 alchemist, if he wanted spirit jades, he could earn them at any time. If not, he could take out some of his medicinal pills and exchange them for a large number of spirit jades. Qian Xiaodong, a second generation who only knew how to rely on his family, had the nerve to compare with him? Yu Ziqing didn't say much. He took Aunt Lan and walked past Lin Yi without looking back. Uncle Li whispered to Qian Xiaodong, "Young master, let's go. There are too many people here." He didn't finish his words, but Qian Xiaodong already understood what he meant. Looking at Lin Yi, who had already turned and left, his eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. "Okay, let's go back and talk." After a while, Lin Yi took Wei Shenjin back to the 5 Elements Commerce Station first, but he didn't stay. Instead, he turned and quietly left the courtyard. In a secluded place, he put on the worldly manifestation mask and turned into a dark-skinned middle-aged man. He strode towards the auction house. During the time he left, the guests in the auction house had all left, leaving only some staff to do some tidying up. Seeing Lin Yi come in, a young man from the auction house greeted him and said politely, "Guest, today's auction is over. If you want to participate in the auction, please come back tomorrow." Lin Yi shook his head and said, "I'm not here to participate in the auction. I just want to ask, do you still accept auction items here? Also, are there any seats in the hall?" Chapter 59:25. It doesn't matter. It's fine as long as I can enter the auction. Lin Yi was secretly delighted. He just wanted to enter the main hall to participate in the auction. As for where he was in the main hall, it didn't matter. Speaking of which, the more secluded it was, the less attention it would attract. This arrangement suited him perfectly. The two of them quickly arrived at the auction room. Lin Yi sat for a while before a man with a goatee came in. He cupped his fists at Lin Yi and said, "I heard you have something to auction. I wonder what type it is? Can you take it out for a look?" Lin Yi took out 6 jade bottles that he had prepared earlier and said, "I'm auctioning 6 medicinal pills. They can be divided into 2 or 3 groups, or you can auction 1 pill individually. You can coordinate this yourself. As for the medicinal pills, you can inspect them as you wish." The goatee didn't mind too much. To be able to take out 6 medicinal pills at once, it was obvious that they wouldn't be anything precious. After all, rare spirit medicines were equally hard to find. "Dear customer, this auction is a top-notch item auction, so if the grade of your medicinal pills doesn't meet the requirements, they might not be auctioned. I have to make this clear to you in advance. However, there will be lower-grade auctions in the future." The goatee didn't immediately pick up the medicinal pills to inspect them. Instead, he started to ramble on and explain to Lin Yi. Lin Yi said impatiently, "Take a look and you'll know if it's qualified or not. If it's not, I won't be auctioned. I won't blame you." The goatee choked and could only nod embarrassedly. This old man spoke too much. "Then let's see what kind of good stuff it is first." Lin Yi snorted and didn't say anything else. His tanned face revealed a timely hint of disdain. Since he had disguised himself as a different person, his personality naturally couldn't be the same as his original self. Goatee was a little angry. If Lin Yi's pill wasn't good enough, he'd definitely mock him. If it was just good enough, then he'd be sorry. This was an item that could be used or not, and he still had the right to decide if he wanted to use it or not. After reaching out to grab a jade bottle, Goatee's expression became much more solemn. This was a quality he had to have as a professional in charge of verifying auction items. No matter what it was, he had to pay attention to it first. It was this good habit that allowed him to not miss the pill that Lin Yi took out. Otherwise, he would definitely cause a bigger mess. What pill is this? It's actually special grade. Goatee mumbled in a low voice, but what was certain was that the pill Lin Yi took out wasn't a mystic tier pill. Since it was only a yellow tier pill, even if it was a 7th grade yellow tier pill, he could still say that he wasn't qualified to be auctioned. If Goatee did not have a proper attitude earlier, he might have determined that Lin Yi's medicinal pill would not be able to be auctioned at first glance. It was precisely because he had a good habit that he took a few more glances. Something doesn't feel right. Goatee looked strangely at the jade bottle in his hand. He brought the mouth of the bottle to his nose and lightly sniffed. A wisp of pill fragrance instantly entered his nose and rushed into the depths of his sea of consciousness. Immediately after, his weak consciousness actually showed signs of trembling. What? Goatee's expression suddenly changed. He immediately closed the lid of the jade bottle and abruptly raised his head to look at Lin. He excitedly asked in a low voice, "Esteemed guest, could it be that your medicinal pill is the legendary soul-tempering pill?" As a professional in charge of verifying auction items on the extreme North Island, even if he hadn't seen the soul-tempering pill before, he must have heard of it. If he didn't have such extensive knowledge, he wouldn't be qualified to sit here at all. Lin Yi revealed a proud expression and proudly said with his chin raised, "Your knowledge is not bad. These 6 are indeed soul-tempering pills, and all of them are supreme-grade soul-tempering pills. I wonder if they are qualified to be auctioned?" Of course they are qualified. Goatee immediately became very enthusiastic. The little bit of dissatisfaction from a moment ago had already vanished. The other person took out 6 soul-tempering pills, and he was still chattering about not being qualified. If it was him, he would also be unhappy. Don't look down on the fact that the spirit-tempering pill was only a yellow level 7th rank pill. Tempering one's consciousness was only valued after reaching the mountain opening stage. In other words, it wasn't a problem to treat the spirit-tempering pill as a pill for cultivators above the magnate realm. This was equivalent to a mystic level 1st rank or even 2nd rank. The cultivators on the heavenly island didn't value consciousness cultivation, but it didn't mean that they didn't know the importance of consciousness. Unfortunately, the cultivators below the magnate realm lacked the means to cultivate consciousness. Therefore, the appearance of the soul-tempering pill would definitely cause a commotion. Moreover, most of the people would be those above the magnate realm. Lin Yi nodded and said, "In that case, what price do you think my 6 soul-tempering pills can be auctioned for?" Goatee carefully put the jade bottle back on the table. After pondering for a moment, he said, "In my opinion, the starting price of a single soul-tempering pill can be set at 10 million spirit jades. The final transaction price is estimated to be around 30 to 40 million. This is still a conservative estimate. If the publicity is good, it will attract more attention from the magnate realm masters. The price will only be higher. Unfortunately, this time it was too late. If it was 10 days earlier, it would definitely attract more masters to the extreme North Island." Lin Yi didn't expect the soul-tempering pill to be so valuable. One was worth 30 million, 6 was nearly 200 million. Sure enough, it was easy for an alchemist to make money. Refining 6 soul-tempering pills, the spiritual sense grass root used was only a thin piece. Compared to the whole spiritual sense grass root, it was not even a hair from 9 oxen. If he needed more spirit jades in the future, he could just casually make a few soul-tempering pills. "I haven't asked the honored guest's name yet?" Goatee calmed down and asked politely. Then he remembered that he hadn't introduced himself yet. He immediately added, "I am the auction house steward, Yang Lianqing. Everyone likes to call me Old Yang." "So it's Steward Yang. My name is Mu Shuang. Since my pills can be auctioned, may I know when it will be arranged?" Lin Yi casually made up a fake name. Ling Yi basically couldn't use it, so Mu Shuang could just deal with it. Looking at Yang Lianqing's expression, he knew the importance of the soul-tempering pill. Fortunately, Lin Yi bought the worldly phenomenon today. Otherwise, If he auctioned the soul-tempering pill with his real identity, there would be trouble in the future. He also had to inform Kai Zhongyang not to leak the matter of the soul-tempering pill. Chapter 5926. Lin Yi handed the list back to Yang Lianqing and motioned him to help fill it out. Then he asked, "Steward Yang, what if I want to buy something but I don't have enough spirit jades? You know, this is the reason why I took out the spirit-quenching pills." Yang Lianqing smiled and took the list. After he finished writing it, he showed it to Lin Yi and said, "It doesn't matter, Brother Mu, you have 6 spirit-quenching pills in our auction house, so if you need them, you can bid for them first. But this overdraft settlement is only 100 million spirit jades. After all, it's not certain how many spirit-quenching pills will be sold for." Lin Yi pretended to be dissatisfied. "Only 100 million spirit jades? Can't it be a little more? 6 spirit-quenching pills are worth more than 100 million, right? Just the starting price is already 60 million. Yang Lianqing pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, "Well, I can make the decision to increase the limit to 120 million, this is the maximum." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Well, I won't make things difficult for Steward Yang, we'll go according to the limit you said." Lin Yi was actually quite satisfied with this amount of money. Plus, he had the chance to concoct the elixir, and he had quite a lot of spirit jades on him. If he didn't have enough, he could still take out other things to pawn to the auction house. This was all within the rules. "Right, Steward Yang, I still don't have a ticket to participate in the auction. I don't know if you have an extra one here?" Lin Yi mainly came for this purpose. The spirit-quenching pills were actually secondary. Yang Lianqing said awkwardly, "Brother Mu, you should be able to get a box for the items you took out, but you came too late, there are no more boxes available." Of course, there would be private rooms. At least there were 2 reserved by the Li family in the extreme north. However, it was obviously not up to Yang Lianqing to decide. Lin Yi waved his hand indifferently and said, "I don't need a box, Steward Yang, just give me a seat in the hall. Even if it's in the corner, I can make do with it." "That's not a problem, the hall can still be squeezed, Brother Mu." Yang Lianqing smiled and took out a silver card and handed it to Lin. There was a number on it and a map of the hall. It was indeed in the corner. Lin Yi put away the silver card and said, "Thank you, Steward Yang, I'll take my leave first." "Okay, Brother Mu, take care. After the spirit-quenching pill is auctioned, Brother Mu, you can come back with this silver card to settle the payment." Yang Lianqing put away the pill and stood up with a fist salute. He was supposed to send Lin Yi off, but after getting the pill, he was in a hurry to arrange things, so he said goodbye to Lin Yi at the door. Lin Yi didn't mind, and walked out of the auction house alone. He quickly searched for an empty street to pass through, and returned to the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce's side courtyard. He put away his mask, restored his identity, and walked in slowly. "Brother Lin, you just came back." Kai Zhongyang was in the courtyard. When he saw Lin Yi, he greeted him with a smile. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. "I was walking around, Brother Kai's harvest today is not bad, tomorrow you will go to the next level." Kai Zhongyang's 12th box got 4 items today. It was indeed a good harvest, but Lin Yi couldn't use those things. Fortunately, Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing, those 2 idiots, didn't vent their anger on the people around Lin Yi, otherwise, it would be very troublesome for Kai Zhongyang. "Brother Lin, why don't you come to my box tomorrow? It will be convenient for you to bid for anything you want. Don't be angry with those 2 spoiled brats from the East Continent." Kai Zhongyang knew that Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing were against Lin. Today's situation was also very obvious. Every item that Lin Yi bid for was blocked by those 2 guys. The only exception was the mask. For some reason, Lin Yi managed to get a picture of it. Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. "It's okay, I can handle it. If I go to your box, it won't be good for you to be targeted. After all, you are now representing the interests of 5 Elements Commerce. If there is a need, I will ask you for help." "Okay, you can look for me anytime." Kai Zhongyang nodded and said no more, but he had decided in his heart that if necessary, he would also compete for the spirit concentrating branch. In any case, he must help Lin Yi get it. Thinking of the spirit tempering pill, Lin Yi simply transmitted his voice to Kai Zhongyang. After Kai Zhongyang nodded, Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand, then returned to his room. At this time, In another place, Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing gathered together again. In addition to Uncle Li and Aunt Lon, Uncle O, the old man who appeared at the trade fair before, was also present. Xiaodong, Uncle O got some news, so I specially asked you to listen to it. After Yu Ziqing invited Qian Xiaodong and Uncle Li to sit down, he said with a smile. Qian Xiaodong turned to look at Uncle O and asked politely, "Uncle O, what news did you get?" Uncle O looked indifferently at Qian Xiaodong and said, "Master Qian, Lin Yi has been living in the station of 5 Elements Commerce on Middle Island, so I took advantage of the auction today to kidnap a staff of 5 Elements Commerce. I used some tricks and found out what Lin Yi must get in the far North Island." Qian Xiaodong's eyes lit up. He did not want to know how Uncle O got the news. He just wanted to know the news. "What is it?" Uncle O did not keep him guessing and said directly, "Spirit Concentrating Branch." "It's the Spirit Concentrating Branch. This guy has some good eyesight." Qian Xiaodong laughed. The Spirit Concentrating Branch was one of the main items of this auction. All the participants knew that. Originally, he was not interested in it. Since Lin Yi must get it, how could he not get in the way? Yu Ziqing took a sip of spirit tea, put down the teacup, and said unhurriedly, "Xiaodong, Aunt Lon told me before that it would be best if I can make friends with Lin. Even if I can't, I should not offend him too much. After all, he is a mystic stage level 2 alchemist. His appeal is still very strong. What do you think?" Qian Xiaodong was slightly startled. "What do you mean? Are you admitting defeat now? If you are afraid of Lin, it doesn't matter. I will come alone." Chapter 59-27. Good. Yu Ziqing, you really did not let me down. Qian Xiaodong slapped the table and laughed. Instead of letting Lin Yi spend more spirit jades, it was better to kill him directly. Qian Xiaodong looked at Aunt Lon and then at Uncle O. He pointed at Yu Ziqing and said, "I understand what you mean. Lin Yi does have some tricks up his sleeve. Uncle Li can't say that he can beat him, but with your Uncle O and Aunt Lan's help, there is nothing to be afraid of. Tell me, when are we going to do it?" "Of course, we have to do it on the northernmost island. Otherwise, if this kid leaves the northernmost island, do we have to chase after him?" Yu Ziqing seemed to have an idea. His face was full of confidence. "But the extreme north island is the Li family's territory. Although we are not afraid of the Li family, after all, a strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its territory. How can we kill Lin Yi without alarming the Li family?" Qian Xiaodong frowned slightly. He wanted to deal with Lin Yi, but it did not mean that he had no scruples. At least the Li family in the extreme north was repeatedly warned by his old man not to offend them. Yu Ziqing smiled mysteriously and said, "Didn't Lin Yi want the God-gathering branch? Let's go according to the original plan and buy this thing and then, good. You really have a lot of ideas. Let's do it." Qian Xiaodong got up and laughed. He bumped fists with Yu Ziqing. A conspiracy against Lin Yi was decided. Although Uncle Li and Aunt Lon felt that making friends with Lin Yi would only bring benefits to their respective forces, since the 2 young city masters had decided to deal with Lin Yi, they could only go all out. They must not let Lin Yi go. Since they had offended such a genius, they must not give the other party any time to grow. Otherwise, they could only watch the other party become stronger step by step and kill them in turn. Qian Xiaodong was about to leave with Uncle Li when he suddenly thought of something. He turned to Yu Ziqing and said, "If we want to deal with Lin Yi, we can also use that idiot Zheng Tianqing. This guy is also Lin Yi's enemy. What do you think?" "Zheng Tianqing? What use can he be? It's already good enough that he doesn't mess things up," Yu Ziqing said with a look of disgust. When they were in the East Continent, Zheng Tianqing was the follower of these rich second generations. They would play with him when they had nothing to do. Therefore, he looked down on Zheng Tianqing from the bottom of his heart. This was how people who didn't belong to the same circle tried to climb in. Yu Ziqing couldn't be blamed for looking down on him. Qian Xiaodong shook his head and said, "It won't be a bad thing. That guy has been in contact with Lin Yi for a long time, and his family is against Lin Yi in Zhongdao. It will be helpful to have such a person who knows him well, right?" "Okay, you decide. It's too late now. I'll talk to him tomorrow after the auction." Yu Ziqing waved his hand and didn't want to continue talking about Zheng Tianqing. Qian Xiaodong nodded and left with Uncle Li. Aunt Lan and Uncle O, who were behind Yu Ziqing, looked at each other and smiled bitterly. If they wanted to plot against others, how could they say that it was too late? He should be afraid that a long night might bring trouble, right? The more detailed the plan was, the less likely it was to make mistakes. Their young governor was still too inexperienced. Fortunately, the previous plan was okay. It didn't matter even if Zheng Tianqing didn't join them, so they didn't say anything. Early the next morning, Lin Yi didn't wait for Wei Shenjin to call him. As soon as Wei Shenjin arrived at the yard, he also came out. "Boss, you're so early." Wei Shenjin respectfully cupped his fists and bowed, smiling as he greeted. Lin Yi nodded and said, "Yes, let's go early today. There's no need to wait for Brother Kai." Kai Zhongyang just opened the door and came out. When he heard Lin Yi's words, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then he smiled and said, "Brother Lin, what's wrong? Do you want to leave me alone and go alone?" Lin Yi smiled and said, "Good morning, Brother Kai. I'm thinking that if we go separately, those two spoiled brats won't go as far as to target you and 5 Elements Commerce. They might even be able to help me at a critical moment." "That sounds reasonable. But don't worry. It won't be easy for those 2 brats to target our 5 Elements Commerce." Kai Zhongyang said confidently. 5 Elements Commerce came from the Pill Hall. A governor of the East Continent might not be able to compare to 5 Elements Commerce in terms of wealth. Even so, there's no need to look for trouble. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. He was really thinking for Kai Zhongyang. Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing, those 2 idiots, could be dealt with by him. Kai Zhongyang and the others didn't need to get involved. Kai Zhongyang also understood Lin Yi's meaning, so he didn't insist. He waited for Lin Yi and Yu Ziqing to walk for a while before following them to the auction house. Lin Yi brought Wei Shenjin to room number 5 first. Along the way, he had already discussed with Wei Shenjin on how to cooperate, so he didn't need to explain anything else. Seeing that no one had arrived in room number 4 and 6, Lin Yi simply transformed into Mu Shuang and went downstairs to the hall. He found a seat in the corner and sat down. He would stay here for the day. After another half an hour, almost all the people who came to participate in the auction had arrived. The entire hall was full. Even the seat that Lin Yi was sitting in was almost full. Fortunately, there was a simple restriction in the hall. It could raise a transparent shield on the left, right, and back of the seat. It wouldn't affect the people in the back looking at the auction stage, but they wouldn't be able to observe the situation in the seats of others. It could be considered as a bit of privacy. However, this was not very useful. If others really wanted to observe you, not to mention using their spiritual sense, even if they stood up, they could see the situation inside the restriction from above. However, this practice could easily offend people, so generally no one would do this. Soon, Huang Wenjing's figure appeared on the auction stage, which meant that the auction had officially begun. After Huang Wenjing said a few simple words, she turned sideways to a jade bottle in the crystal cover and said, "This is today's first auction item. Inside the bottle is a medicinal pill. Perhaps many friends haven't heard of this medicinal pill, so I will first give a brief introduction and then start the official auction." Lin Yi looked up and saw that the jade bottle in the crystal cover was extremely exquisite. It was completely different from the coarse things that he used. Just this jade bottle alone, it was estimated that it would cost at least a few hundred spirit jades. He didn't know what medicinal pill it was, but it actually needed such a good jade bottle to contain it. However, Lin Yi didn't care about medicinal pills, so he certainly wouldn't participate in today's first auction. Chapter 59-28. Hearing this, Lin Yi felt something was wrong. Could it be that the spirit-tempering pill he brought to the auction yesterday? Didn't Yang Lianqing say it would be on the last day? Why did he bring it out today? However, he immediately understood. There were a total of 6 spirit-tempering pills. The people from the auction house probably took one out to test the waters. At the same time, they were also using the name of the spirit-tempering pill. As long as there were more people competing for it today, the news would naturally spread quickly. When the other 5 spirit-tempering pills came out on the last day, the effect would be several times better than today. Sure enough, this was a professional auction house. Their methods were really good. Lin Yi wasn't wrong at all. The exquisite jade bottle on the stage did contain a spirit-cleansing pill. Huang Wenjing introduced with a smile. This pill is the legendary spirit-cleansing pill that can refine one's soul. Moreover, it is a special quality spirit-tempering pill. If used to refine the divine sense, the effect is extremely amazing. Everyone knows that under the magnate realm, almost no one can cultivate the divine sense well, so everyone doesn't pay much attention to it. Only after reaching the magnate realm will you know how important the divine sense is to a cultivator. Although I am not a magnate realm cultivator, I can responsibly tell everyone that when two magnate realm cultivators are at the same level, the one with the stronger divine sense has a high chance of instantly killing the one with the weaker divine sense. This is almost no secret. Therefore, I don't need to say more about the value of the spirit tempering pill. Even if it is only a Huang level 7 spirit tempering pill, it is still the same. I also want to remind everyone that don't underestimate the spirit tempering pill's Huang level 7 spirit tempering pill. Because it is a Huang level pill, not only magnate realm cultivators can use it. In fact, even if you are at the foundation establishment realm, you can also use the spirit tempering pill. The lower your level, the more benefits you will get from using the spirit tempering pill. There is no need to say more about this. Now, let the official auction begin. One spirit tempering pill, the starting price is 10 million spiritual jades. Each increment must be no less than 500 million spiritual jades. Huang Wenjing had indeed put in a lot of effort today. Although it was a simple introduction, it was actually quite detailed. Obviously, she had received instructions from the auction house's higher-ups. Although the soul tempering pill had been lost for a long time, in fact, many people knew about it. Because the divine consciousness grass could not be found on the Heaven Stage Island, there was no way to refine the soul tempering pill, which led to the extinction of this pill. The sudden appearance of a top-grade spirit tempering pill, coupled with Huang Wenjing's detailed introduction, instantly ignited the atmosphere of the auction. 11 million spiritual jades. Lin Yi was slightly startled when he saw that the first bidder was from booth 12. He immediately understood that it was Kai Zhongyang who was trying to boost his popularity. Of course, the only one who could take out the soul tempering pill was Lin Yi. Kai Zhongyang was well aware of this, so he didn't hesitate to bid. If he could win it, he would be able to help Lin Yi a little, and secondly, he could also get some good things for 5 elements commerce. This was definitely not a loss. However, Kai Zhongyang really underestimated the power of the spirit tempering pill. In just 3 or 4 breaths of time, the price had directly exceeded 20 million spiritual jades, and it continued to soar at the same rate. Even 30 million spiritual jades could not stop the enthusiasm of the crowd. It was not until 40 million spiritual jades appeared that the bidding began to slow down, and the increase in price slowly became extremely small. In the end, the first spirit tempering pill was sold for a price as high as 49.5 million spiritual jades, almost reaching 50 million spiritual jades, which was much higher than what Yang Lianqing expected yesterday. Lin Yi was also speechless. He didn't expect that a spirit tempering pill was almost equal to the secular world mask that he bought yesterday. In his mind, let alone a spirit tempering pill, even a dozen or 20 spirit tempering pills may not be able to match the importance of the secular world mask to him, but others certainly did not think so. In any case, it was a good thing for Lin Yi that the spirit tempering pill was sold at such a high price. At least he had more confidence in winning the spirit gathering branch and the soul wood. For the next auction items, Lin Yi was not interested in them, so he sent a signal to Wei Shenjin through the mini intercom device he brought from the secular world, asking him to bid freely and see the reaction of Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing. He didn't expect that these two guys would be so abnormal today. Several times when the 5th booth bid, they didn't even bother to suppress it. This made Lin Yi feel very strange. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have come to the hall. Could it be that these two idiots had thought it through? No matter what, it was a good thing that Qian Xiaodong and the others didn't target Lin Yi. Lin Yi was thinking if he should find a chance to go back to the 5th booth. At noon, Li Zhaoyi's chance to concoct a pill was put up for auction. It was guaranteed to be a mystic level 1 pill, and the quality was guaranteed as well. The starting price was only 1 million spiritual jades, especially since the alchemist was the head of the alchemy hall, the most talented one other than the pill god Zhang Liju. The final price was also not bad, reaching 18 million spiritual jades. As long as he didn't compete for the most popular items, it was enough to buy a lot of good stuff. Seeing that Li Zhaoyi's chance was sold for 18 million spiritual jades, Lin Yi started to calculate what price he could get for his chance. One had to know that his pill was a mystic level 2 pill, and the starting price was 10 million. Even if it wasn't 10 times better than Li Zhaoyi's, it would at least be 7 or 8 times better, right? That would be more than 100 million spiritual jades. No wonder Li Zhaoyi said that he made a loss when he made the Haina pill. It really was a huge loss. In fact, this was just Lin Yi's imagination. Although it was a mystic level 2 pill, the cost wouldn't be that high, but anything was possible in the auction. Nothing was certain now. The day's auction was about to end, and it was a peaceful day for Lin. Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing didn't specifically target the 5th booth, and Wei Shenjin actually managed to get a few items. Most of them were elixirs, and they added up to 2 million spiritual jades. If it was yesterday, he definitely wouldn't be able to get a single item. As for Lin Yi himself, he didn't make a move from beginning to end. It was as if he came to the hall to watch a show, not even making a single bid. This was also because Lin Yi wanted to keep a low profile and didn't want to attract attention. The identity of Mu Shuang was to be used in critical moments, and normal items weren't enough for him to make a move. Chapter 59-29. Lin Yi suddenly sat up straight. He did not expect that the spirit gathering branch would appear so suddenly. He was simply unprepared. All along, he had thought that the soul wood and the spirit gathering branch were very likely to appear on the last day. He did not expect that his biggest goal would make a grand appearance on the second day. A smooth, jade-like branch appeared in the crystal cover on the auction stage. It was about 30 centimeters long and did not have many branches. The whole section of the spirit gathering branch was faintly flowing with brilliance. At first glance, one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. Lin Yi took a deep breath. In any case, he must get this spirit gathering branch today. Huang Wenjing did not need to introduce the function of the spirit gathering branch, because it was originally one of the main auction items. The detailed information had been published long ago. There was no need to waste time at this time. Therefore, Huang Wenjing simply smiled and announced, "The starting price of the spirit gathering branch is 20 million spiritual jades. Each increase must be no less than 1 million spiritual jades. Now we are accepting bids." Wei Shenjin was the first to help Lin Yi bid, 21 million spiritual jades. This was just a test to see how many people would participate in the competition. Soon, 4 or 5 bids appeared almost at the same time, and the price was pushed to more than 30 million spiritual jades. Wei Shenjin received Lin Yi's instructions and directly bid 50 million spiritual jades. The rest of the bids were slightly stagnant. After all, a one-time increase of nearly 20 million spiritual jades was still relatively shocking. More importantly, the crowd seemed to see the fierce battle yesterday again. If it was not unexpected, the 4th or 6th box should be making a move. Sure enough, the 4th box did not disappoint and bid 51 million spiritual jades. Lin Yi's face suddenly became a little gloomy. It was not that Qian Xiaodong and the others did not target him, but that they knew his goal was the spirit gathering branch and specifically waited here. In order to confirm, Lin Yi asked Wei Shenjin to bid 60 million spiritual jades, and the 4th box immediately increased the price to 61 million spiritual jades. This way of increasing the price was obviously telling Lin Yi that someone was here to cause trouble. 100 million spirit jades. Lin Yi asked Wei Shenjin to continue bidding. If Qian Xiaodong wanted to cause trouble, he could do it. Anyway, the price of the spirit gathering branch had not reached its peak. At this time, there were still many people competing. He would deal with Qian Xiaodong after clearing the others. Such a large increase in the price had indeed scared off many people, and the number of competitors had decreased significantly. In the number 4 private room, Qian Xiaodong laughed loudly and said, "Lin Yi, this punk is anxious. Do you think you can scare this young master by adding a few tens of millions of spirit jades? How naive. Yu Ziqing, who was at the side, first raised the bid by 1 million. Then he smiled and said, "Let's play with him slowly and see how long he can last. I really want to see what kind of expression he will have after he runs out of spiritual jades. It must be very interesting, right?" After Wei Shenjin's bid of 150 million spirit jades, the person in booth 8 suddenly made a move. Furthermore, he immediately raised the bid to 200 million spirit jades. Seeing this, Qian Xiaodong felt depressed. "Who's in room 8? Why did you suddenly intervene?" Qian Xiaodong was already prepared to bid 151 million spirit jades. The feeling of being interrupted was really not good. If it weren't for the extreme North Island's prohibition against anyone disturbing the VIPs in the private rooms, Qian Xiaodong would have sent Uncle Li to greet the person in booth 8. Yu Ziqing raised his hand to stop Qian Xiaodong and said, "Let's wait and see first. As long as it's not that fellow Lin Yi, it's the same no matter who it is." Qian Xiaodong thought about it and agreed. He didn't have much interest in the spirit gathering branch. Since someone came out to disrupt the situation, he was happy to watch the show from the side. Huang Wenjing quickly said with a smile, "The person in booth 8 has bid 200 million spirit jades. The spirit gathering branch is indeed a top treasure. But it's no wonder. This is not a one-time use elixir like the spirit tempering pill. It can be used repeatedly. It's normal for everyone to pay attention to it. 200 million spirit jades going once. 205 million spirit jades. This is the bid from booth 11. There's a new bid." Lin Yi frowned slightly. He didn't expect that the higher the price, the more people came out to compete. This was a little troublesome. Qian Xiaodong didn't continue to bid. It seemed that as long as booth 5 didn't move, he wouldn't make a move. Sitting in the hall for a day was really not in vain. 210 million spirit jades. The friend in booth 12 has bid 210 million spirit jades. Lin Yi suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Kai Zhongyang saw that booth 5 didn't move, so he wanted him to help him bid for the spirit gathering branch. Although he was touched, he estimated that it would only cause trouble. Sure enough, when Qian Xiaodong saw booth 12 make a move, he immediately added 1 million spirit jades. Anyone else could get it but not Lin Yi and his friends. So this time, people who were close to Lin Yi, including Kai Zhongyang, were targeted. Lin Yi immediately informed Wei Shenjin and asked him to go to Kai Zhongyang's side and tell them not to interfere in this auction. Room 8 and Room 11 raised the price again, but not by much. It was obvious that they were starting to be cautious at this price. As long as booth 5 and other people related to Lin Yi didn't make a move, Qian Xiaodong and the others wouldn't come out to mess things up. At present, the two new booths were competing. The price increased by 1 million spirit jades a few times and reached 220 million spirit jades. Kai Zhongyang really didn't make a move again. He should have been informed by Wei Shenjin. Lin Yi didn't wait any longer and directly bid 260 million spirit jades. After the new price was displayed on the projection array, Huang Wenjing on the stage couldn't help but be slightly stunned. However, her good professionalism made her immediately recover and announced with a little excitement, "Number 1233 bids 260 million spirit jades. Are there any friends who want the spirit gathering branch? Please consider it quickly." There was a sudden uproar in the hall. The number 1233 was obviously a position in the hall. They didn't expect that there was such a rich guy hidden under it. 260 million spirit jades was already the highest price since the beginning of the auction. The previous record was left by the storage ring in the first auction yesterday. Unfortunately, the number plates in the hall were scattered, and the seats were not arranged in order. So, no one knew who was number 1233 for a while. A one-time increase of 40 million spirit jades was indeed a bit big, so the previous two booths didn't immediately offer a new price. Chapter 5930. Huang Wenjing, who was on the stage, was a little displeased. The auction wasn't a place for people to show off their status. If everyone did this, then what was the point of the auction? Everyone just had to show off their statuses and sit in a row. The person in the 8th room couldn't help but mock. "Who the hell is Zheng Dongjue? I didn't even say anything. Who do you think you are? Let Zhang Liju come over, bid if you have the money, piss off if you don't. What are you talking about?" The sound amplification matrix could change a person's voice, so this person might not be speaking with his original voice, but someone who dared to talk to the vice head of the Dan Hall like this couldn't be a simple person. Huang Wenjing was secretly pleased. These words were quite agreeable. Someone like Zheng Dongjue should be punished like this. In the 11th room, Zheng Dongjue's face was extremely ugly. He wanted to fight for Li Xiaoyi, but he didn't expect to be humiliated like this. At first, he didn't expect that Li Xiaoyi would need the spirit gathering branch. House Zheng's spirit jade was almost spent, and he didn't dare use the public funds of the Dan Hall, even if it was for Li Xiaoyi. Li Xiaoyi said calmly, "Vice Head Zheng, since you can't get it, it's fine. It's not a big deal, you don't need to use the name of the Dan Hall to pressure people." Master Li Xiaoyi is right, I didn't think it through. Zheng Dongjue was full of unluck. He didn't think it through, and now it was a thankless task. Huang Wenjing had already called for the second time, and was about to call for the third time. If no one continued bidding, the spirit gathering branch would be Lin Yi's. However, the person in the 8th room didn't seem ready to give up, and added another 1,000,000 spirit jade. Lin Yi was really helpless. He was about to get it, and this bastard was as annoying as Qian Xiao Dong. 270 million. This was pretty much his limit at the moment, including the 120 million he had overdrawn. The spirit condensing branch was already damaged to this extent. If he wanted the soul wood, he'd have to sell a few more spirit purifying pills. This time, when Lin Yi bid, several divine senses instantly captured his position. It couldn't be helped. The isolation in the hall was practically non-existent. No one expected him to bid the first time, so they didn't discover him. But when he bid the second time, those magnate realm powerhouses were already monitoring every corner of the hall. Lin Yi did not mind. Anyway, he was now using the identity of Mu Shuang. No one knew him. As long as he could obtain the spirit gathering branch, everything else was secondary. The person in room number 8 laughed sinisterly and said, "Friend number 1233 is indeed rich and overbearing. Since that's the case, let's take it as forming a good karma today." Lin Yi smiled coldly. Was this guy threatening him? Unless it was an expert of the earth opening stage or even the sea splitting stage, he really had nothing to fear. The crisp sound of the hammer fell, and the spirit gathering branch was finally taken by Lin. But at the same time that the transaction was completed, there were a few simple divine sense marks on Lin Yi's body. This method, Lin Yi had used it in the secular world. The few guys in the center still had his divine sense marks on them. He did not expect that someone would use the divine sense marks to deal with him today. It seemed that Mu Shuang's unknown identity made those magnate realm powerhouses feel that he was easy to deal with. So they left behind a method to track him, and if there was a chance, they would seize the treasure. It was a pity that their method of using divine sense was too simple. Lin Yi was stronger than them in this aspect. A few mountain opening stage divine sense marks were really not in his eyes. After the spirit gathering branch was auctioned, the next day's auction was announced to be over. Lin Yi quickly got up and left the auction house after putting away the things. He did not think about meeting up with Wei Shenjin and the others. Lin Yi could easily get rid of those divine spirit marks, but he didn't want to let those guys go just like that. He wanted to know who was the one who was targeting him. Running at full speed, Lin Yi quickly left the prosperous area of the extreme North Island and came to a desolate place near the coast. He had fully spread out his divine sense. For the time being, he had not found anyone tracking him. It should be that the few people in the mountain opening stage were not ready to chase him yet. After carefully checking and confirming that there were only 4 divine sense marks on his body, Lin Yi quickly peeled off these marks, put them into a jade bottle, and threw them far away into the vast sea. After doing all this, Lin Yi found a good hiding place, quietly hid in it, and completely concealed his aura. His guess was right. Noticing that his divine sense marks had left the range of the extreme North Island, the 4 experts in the mountain opening stage followed him at the same time. Although they were in different directions, they all gathered together in the end. Lin Yi hid in the dark and saw the 4 people clearly. There were a few familiar faces among them. Uncle O, the old man beside Yu Ziqing, Uncle Li, who was beside Qian Xiaodong, and the red-faced Lu Deng. This stinking rascal might be the guy in the 8th box. Thinking of competing with Lu Decheng for the yuan-raising demon golden grass at the Morning Star City auction, Lin Yi wanted to laugh. This old rascal was obviously a guest elder of the Morning Star City Lord Mansion, but he finally forcibly bought the yuan-raising demon golden grass of Bao Zuoyang, the young city lord, at the lowest price. It was really beyond the universe to become a guest elder like him. Because Lin Yi later gave up bidding with Lu Decheng for the yuan-raising demon golden grass, and even refined a medicinal pill for him, this old rascal had a good relationship with Lin. If it was really Lu Decheng in the 8th box, it was not surprising that he scolded Zheng Dongjue. Lu Decheng was an expert in using his identity and strength to suppress people. Zheng Dongjue dared to do this in front of him, and it was lucky that he did not get beaten up by him. Lu Decheng had not seen Lu Decheng at the previous small trade fair. It was estimated that this old rascal had just come to the extreme North Island in the past 2 days. Otherwise, with his character, he would not be so quiet. Lin Yi must have heard about him. Lin Yi had not seen the last one. It seemed that he had no intersection with the 3 from the East Continent, so after noticing him, he just glanced at him from a distance and turned away. Lu Decheng, Uncle Li, and Uncle O seemed to know each other, so they exchanged a few pleasantries. Although they knew why they were here, they didn't mention it. After a short chat, they left first. Chapter 59:31. Lin Yi was thinking about whether he should kill these 2 guys now. To be honest, Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing were targeting and scheming against him, which had made him very impatient. If he could, he wanted to kill those 2 guys directly. Considering that killing Uncle O and Uncle Li now might alert the enemy, Lin Yi finally endured it. As for Lu Decheng, they were acquaintances. He would let it go this time. However, he did not know where the last guy came from. If he offended him again, he would definitely get back at him with interest. After half an hour, Lin Yi returned to his original appearance and leisurely returned to the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce's encampment. Kai Zhongyang had been waiting for him in the courtyard, and when he saw Lin Yi enter, he immediately came forward to welcome him. "Brother Lin, why did you come back so late? How is the God-gathering branch? Why didn't you let me intervene?" A series of questions showed that Kai Zhongyang was really worried about Lin, especially the God-gathering branch. Kai Zhongyang was very clear about the importance of it to Lin. This was a big matter related to Han Jingjing. Even if he had to go bankrupt, Lin Yi would not give it up. Lin Yi smiled slightly and pulled Kai Zhongyang into the living room. "Brother Kai, don't worry. I have already got the God-gathering branch. I arranged number 1233. Otherwise, how could I be so calm?" Kai Zhongyang was startled for a moment before he immediately understood. He laughed and said, "So that's how it is. Brother Lin, it's impossible for you to ignore Miss Han. I understand now. Brother is indeed meddlesome." Lin Yi did not say that number 1233 was actually him. It was not important. He did not let Kai Zhongyang know because of the attention of the previous opening period. He did not want to involve the 5 Elements Commerce. As the 2 were talking, Wei Shenjin rushed in and said to Lin Yi and Kai Zhongyang with a serious face, "Boss, Chairman Kai, someone from the Hall of Elixir came to say that Master Ho is missing." "What?" Lin Yi stood up abruptly. "Ho Guanqi was missing? How was that possible? What happened?" Kai Zhongyang asked worriedly. Ho Guanqi was his old friend, and they were both Zhang Liju's disciples. Their relationship was very special. He was more worried about Ho Guanqi than Lin. Wei Shenjin shook his head. That Dan Hall disciple did not explain in detail. He only said that someone went to find Pill Master Ho and then lost contact with him. Not long ago, someone came to tell them that something had happened to Pill Master Ho and asked the Dan Hall to send someone to inform boss of this matter. "This is against me?" Lin Yi's killing intent rose instantly. If it was against him directly, he might not be this angry, but against him through his friends? This was something he could not tolerate. Kai Zhongyang quickly said, "Brother Lin, calm down. We don't know the situation right now. Don't panic." Lin Yi took a deep breath and turned to Wei Shenjin. "What did the person from the Hall of Elixir say?" "Forget it, I'll go ask him directly." The disciple from the Hall of Elixir was waiting in the yard. Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense and found him. He quickly walked out and asked, "What happened? Tell me in detail." Master Lin. The disciples of the Pill Hall basically all recognized Lin. When they saw him come out, they immediately cupped their fists and bowed respectfully. Then, they quickly said, after the auction ended, Elder Ho was called out by someone as soon as he returned. He didn't say what happened. Then, just now, another person said that something happened to him and he had to inform Master Lin. Here's a letter for Master Lin. The disciple took out a letter and passed it to Lin. This was a serious matter, and he didn't dare give it to anyone before seeing the person in question. Lin took the letter and nodded. Thank you. Is there anything else? No, I'll leave first. If there's any news, I'll inform Master Lin. That disciple cupped his fists respectfully and bid farewell to Kai Zhongyang, who had followed him out. Then he turned around and left. Lin tore open the envelope and opened the letter. There were only a few simple sentences on it. Go alone to the eastern beach of the island. Collect Elder Ho's corpse in no time. Kai Zhongyang panicked and wanted to read the contents of the letter, but was stopped by Lin who had an ugly expression on his face. Brother Lin, what does the letter say? What happened to Brother Ho? Kai Zhongyang was blocked by Lin so he could only stand there and ask. Lin shook his head and didn't say anything. He wrapped the letter with his vital qi and shot out an alchemy fire to burn them completely. Not even a trace of smoke was left. Kai Zhongyang's expression changed. Lin did this because there was something strange about the letter. It might even be poisoned. Otherwise, Lin wouldn't be in such a hurry to talk. After a while, Lin exhaled and said to Kai Zhongyang and Wei Shenjin, "It's okay. This poison is nothing. You don't have to worry. I'll go find Brother Ho now." Wei Shenjin said anxiously, "Boss, you're going alone? It's too dangerous. Let's go find Li Ziyu. This is his place. He must have a way." "It's too late. I have to go now and I have to go alone. Otherwise, Brother Ho will die." After Lin finished speaking, he flashed out of the courtyard. When Kai Zhongyang and Wei Shenjin chased after him, he was long gone. The eastern beach of the island was the most desolate place in the extreme North Island. There were restrictions and guards on the periphery. Because sea beasts like to swim in that sea area, no one would go there usually. Lin had gone to the southern beach before. If he had known earlier, he would have chosen to go to the eastern beach of the island. Maybe he could have met Ho Guanxi at that time, and these problems wouldn't have happened now. Although the poison on the letter had been removed by Lin an unscrupulous opponent would certainly not only have such a small arrangement. This time, there must be other dangers to rescue Ho Guanxi alone. The extreme butterfly microstep was used by Lin as a means to hurry. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to keep the thunder escape technique as a trump card, he would have already used it. Fortunately, the eastern beach of the island was not too far away. After a while, Lin had already come to this inaccessible place, and then his spiritual awareness successfully found the trace of Ho Guanxi. To his surprise, Ho Guanxi was actually unconscious on the beach. There was no enemy nearby, and Ho Guanxi didn't seem to be in danger. He was just unconscious. Lin Yi's spiritual awareness swept back and forth in the area and found nothing suspicious. He even went several feet underground and still didn't see the enemy. Chapter 59:32. The ghostly thing laughed strangely and said, "You're really wasting my time. I've taught you for so long, but you can't even see through a concealment formation. That guy surnamed Ho is right next to the concealment formation. If you go there, you'll probably be attacked by them. I can only help you this much. The rest is up to you." A concealment formation? Lin was slightly surprised. Although his formation skills were still very weak and it was difficult for him to arrange a second-level concealment formation, he could still see through ordinary third-level and even fourth-level formations. Now, he could not find any abnormality even after repeatedly checking with his divine sense, which could only show that this concealment formation was powerful and advanced. Then, Lin immediately thought of the 8th-level concealment formation plate that was won by the 6th box at the auction. The classification of formations on the Heaven Stage Island was completely different from that of alchemy. Those who could arrange 1st-level to 3rd-level formations could be called Yellow Stage Formation Masters. Lin Yi's level was at the Yellow Stage Formation Master level. Those who could arrange 4th level to 6th level formations were called profound stage formation masters. Lin Yi's level of formation was certainly not up to that level, but his eyesight was barely enough to reach the threshold of profound stage formation masters. As for arranging 7th level to 9th level formations, only Earth stage formation masters could do it. If he guessed correctly, the ghostly thing should be a genuine Earth stage formation master. It was said that above the 9th level, there was a higher way of formation. Unfortunately, there was no inheritance of formations above the 9th level on the Heaven Stage Island. Even if it was the ghostly thing, it only vaguely knew about it. Perhaps it could see it in the higher sea areas of the eastern continent. If it was that 8th level concealment formation plate on the beach, it was not surprising that it could easily hide from all of Lin Yi's detection. In this way, it was clear at a glance who was plotting against him. The poison on the letter made Lin think that it was done by that fool Zheng Tianqing. Now, it seemed that it might be done by several of them together. After being reminded by the ghostly thing, Lin Yi very carefully came to the place where Hou Guanqi was unconscious. He deliberately guarded against the surroundings and slowly approached Hou Guanqi on the ground with a puzzled look on his face. Less than 6 meters away from Lin Yi, Qian Xiaodong laughed and said to the people around him, "This formation plate is really good. I didn't spend so many spiritual jades in vain. Look at that idiot's expression, it's worth it." The 8th level concealment formation plate had the function of isolating sound and aura, so no matter how loud Qian Xiaodong was, he was not afraid that the people outside the formation would hear him. Other than him, there were also Uncle Li and Uncle O in the formation. These two guys didn't get any results from following Mu Shuang, so they came here directly. It was Lin Yi who didn't attack them before, but now it was their turn to ambush Lin. After a short pause, Qian Xiaodong said to Uncle O with some dissatisfaction, "Uncle O, where did you Ziqing and Aunt Lan go? How can they disappear at this time?" Uncle O said calmly, "Young Master Qian, the young governor went with Zheng Tianqing to arrange the second plan. Don't you know that? The two of us are enough to deal with Lin Yi. Not to mention this kind of sneak attack, even if we fight him head-on, we may be able to kill him." Uncle Li also echoed, "Yes, although Lin Yi has some means, he is still at the peak of the late stage of mysterious ascension. If the two of us sneak attack him, even if we can't kill him with one blow, we can at least guarantee that he will be seriously injured. It doesn't matter whether they are here or not." Didn't this guy look down on Zheng Tianqing? Why did he change his attitude? Look, Lin doesn't seem to be poisoned at all. He is really a useless guy. He said that his poison ability is unparalleled in the world. It's more like he is unparalleled in the world. Qian Xiaodong muttered a few words, but there was nothing he could do. It was his own proposal to bring Zheng Tianqing in. He did not expect that Yu Ziqing also thought that Zheng Tianqing's idea was good, and the two actually hit it off. The original plan was to use the news of the spirit gathering branch to lure Lin Yi, but Zheng Tianqing suggested to use Hou Guanqi to lure Lin Yi out, and poison the letter when sending the letter, so as to weaken Lin Yi's strength first. Hou Guanqi was a member of Dan Hall. It was not difficult for the Zheng family to trick him out first, so the plan was quite smooth. Yu Ziqing also looked at this silly follower with new eyes, which made Qian Xiaodong a little dissatisfied. Lin Yi walked over step by step. On the surface, he was looking around vigilantly, but in fact, his divine sense had been falling on the position of the array that the ghost thing pointed out. As long as someone launched a surprise attack from the array, he would be able to find it in the first place. Logically, at this distance, he had entered the best sneak attack range, but the other party was obviously very patient and continued to wait for the opportunity. That opportunity should be when Lin Yi went to help Hou Guanqi. After understanding this, Lin Yi's heart was full of killing intent. The other party was obviously waiting for him to help Hou Guanqi up before sneak attack, so that he could kill both of them at the same time, killing two birds with one stone. No matter who the other party was, they dared to involve the people around Lin Yi, which had touched his bottom line. As long as the other party was not a super expert at the earth opening stage or the sea splitting stage, Lin Yi would definitely kill them. If Hou Guanqi was not here, under the guidance of the ghost thing, Lin Yi could counterattack through the array door of the hidden array disk and attack the other party by surprise. Unfortunately, The situation was unclear now, so he did not dare to gamble with Hou Guanqi's life. At the last step, Lin Yi knew that pretending to be cautious would only arouse the other party's suspicion, so he directly rushed to the side of Hou Guanqi, stretched out his hand to grab his collar and belt, and a lightning arc appeared at the same time, pointing straight to 100 meters away. At the same time, two terrifying streams of vital qi fell almost instantly on the position where Lin Yi and Hou Guanqi were, creating a 2-square-meter deep hole on the beach. The density of the vital qi was so high that if Lin Yi was touched by it, he would definitely be seriously injured, if not dead. If not for the lightning escape technique, he would really be in danger this time. However, Lin Yi did not completely escape. When he used the lightning escape technique to escape, he left behind a counterattack method. Elixir Fire Divine Sense Vortex. As soon as Uncle Li and Uncle O came out of the concealment formation plate, they suddenly felt an invisible whirlpool sweeping towards them, constantly tearing at their primordial spirits. Moreover, this tearing force turned into a terrifying flame from time to time, burning their primordial spirits. Chapter 59:33. As for Lin Yi using the thunder escape technique to escape, it was not a big deal. Even if the thunder escape technique had only been used by Yu Ziqing for a few days, Lin Yi's performance was absolutely amazing, but it was not a big deal. Both Uncle O and Uncle Li were experienced people. They knew that if this continued, the two of them would most likely be seriously injured. Just in an instant, the two old foxes hit each other at the same time. After hitting each other in the air, the impact caused the two of them to separate in an instant. They actually rushed out of the range of Lin Yi's Divine Sense Pill Fire Whirlpool. However, this time, the two of them were more or less slightly injured, not only in the spirit, but also in the body. Lin Yi used this opportunity to put Hou Guanqi on his back, fastening him with a belt so that he wouldn't fall off during the fight. He'd made up his mind to kill these two old geezers. He should have done it back at the South Beach. He didn't care about alerting them. Uncle O was slightly dispirited. He looked at Lin Yi, who was carrying Hou Guanqi step by step, and sneered, "Boy, you are really brave. Not only did you not run away, but you also dared to come back. I admit that you are indeed a genius. You can actually have such a powerful divine sense and such a terrifying divine sense attack skill at the mysterious ascending stage. However, if you think that you can defeat the two of us, you have underestimated the strength of the mountain opening stage." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Is the mountain opening stage very powerful? Maybe so, but you two old foxes are just SOS." Uncle Li's arm shook, and he held two black short thorns with both hands. There was a faint black mist lingering on the tip of the thorns. "Old O, don't talk nonsense with him. Just kill him directly and find out the divine sense attack skill. We will share it," Uncle Li said coldly, and rushed towards Lin. If possible, Uncle Li really didn't want to become enemies with Lin Yi, but things had already come to this, and there was no way out. Only by killing Lin Yi would he be able to eliminate all future troubles, and Lin Yi did have a lot of good things on him, so he was really tempted. Uncle O laughed and said, "That's a good suggestion. Let's end this quickly." Before his voice died away, Uncle O had already rushed to Lin Yi with Uncle Li. At the same time, a small cyan and purple flag appeared in his hand. As he waved it in the wind, tiny light rays flew out and completely covered the area. "Brat, that's the space-locking forbidden escape flag. It can prevent any escape techniques from being used within its range. Your lightning escape technique will be useless in this space. I'm preventing you from escaping," the ghost kindly reminded Lin. Not only could he escape, if Lin Yi wanted to use the lightning escape technique in battle, he would only lose the initiative and fall into a disadvantageous situation. Lin Yi grunted, but he didn't take it too seriously. He didn't only have the lightning escape technique. The space-locking forbidden escape flag had an impact on him, but it wouldn't be too big. It was no wonder that Yu Ziqing would use the lightning escape technique to exchange for the martial arts he wanted. Anyway, they had things that could restrain the lightning escape technique, so they were naturally not afraid of increasing the enemy's strength. Facing the two mountain opening stage experts who were rushing towards him aggressively, Lin Yi also began to speed up. In just a moment, he appeared in front of Uncle Li. The black short spike appeared like a ghost in a position that Lin Yi couldn't take care of. Without giving Lin Yi any time to react, it easily pierced through his waist. The other followed closely behind and pierced through Lin Yi's shoulder. Then, it pierced through Hou Guanqi's chest and came out from his back. When he first pierced through, Uncle Li was overjoyed. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be so vulnerable and be killed in just one move. However, he immediately felt that something was wrong. The black short spike didn't pierce through anything at all. It just pierced through an afterimage. Cloud Dragon's third appearance. Lin Yi's face was as cold as frost. He appeared behind Uncle Li and backhandedly used the soul hooking hand. Facing the siege of two mountain opening stage experts, he didn't dare to be too careless. He wanted to get rid of one of them first. Unfortunately, Uncle O's speed was faster than Lin Yi had imagined. As soon as he appeared, a violent vital chi that was enough to split mountains had already descended on his head. Although it eventually hit the afterimage of the Cloud Dragon's three appearances, Lin Yi's soul-hooking hand also deviated a little. After Uncle Li realized that he had only pierced an afterimage, he immediately changed his position. This kind of experience of wandering between life and death many times really saved his life. Otherwise, even if Lin Yi's soul-hooking hand deviated a little, it would still be enough to hit more than half of his target. At that time, Lin Yi could kill him with just a thought. The soul hook hand was invisible, and so Uncle Li didn't realize that he was almost killed by Lin. He was furious that Lin Yi was able to get away from him, and he didn't even realize it. It was a disgrace to him that he didn't realize it. When Lin Yi reappeared, he was behind Uncle O. Although the Skylock Forbidden Escape flag did not affect him much, if he had the lightning escape technique, his strength would only be stronger, and he would be more skillful in the battle. Therefore, killing Uncle O first was the right choice. Soul hooking hand. This time, it was almost in the bag. As long as he could use it, Uncle O would definitely not be able to escape. However, what made Lin Yi depressed was that as soon as he made his move, a black short thorn suddenly flew over, aiming at his throat. If Lin Yi continued to use the soul hooking hand, Uncle O would indeed be killed, but Lin Yi would most likely be killed as well. In desperation, Lin Yi could only give up the attack and teleport away again. In an instant, he appeared more than 10 meters away. Uncle Li waved his hand, and the black short thorn flew back and fell into his palm. Uncle O also stood aside and looked at Lin Yi coldly. The three of them had been testing each other out in the blink of an eye. Qian Xiaodong, who was in the concealment array formation, had not been able to clearly see what had happened. All he saw was the three of them charging at each other before exchanging positions and stopping. "Kid, you are indeed very powerful. You can face two mountain opening early stage experts at the peak of the mysterious ascension late stage without falling into a disadvantageous position. There are definitely only a few cultivators who are more talented than you in the entire Heaven Stage Island. Unfortunately, the more powerful you are, the more I can't let you go today," Uncle O said coldly. At that moment, he felt a chill of death. If Uncle Li was not there to support him, he might not be Lin Yi's opponent. This realization made him even more determined to kill Lin Yi at all costs today. Chapter 5934. Two people at the early stage of the mountain opening stage? Boy, you are really arrogant. Uncle Li was so angry that he laughed. He raised his short black thorn slightly and said with a strong murderous look in his eyes, "Do you know why there are so few geniuses? It is because they do not know how to restrain themselves, so they are killed before they have a chance to grow. Just like you." One of the spikes was thrown out by Uncle Li before he even finished his sentence. It shot towards Lin Yi like a bolt of black lightning. Uncle O's body flickered, disappearing from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was right behind Uncle Li's black spike, attacking Lin Yi at the same time. Lin Yi was helpless as well. If it was a one-on-one fight, he would have killed the two old geezers a couple of times already. But with the two of them together, it was like 1 + 1 was greater than 2. It was extremely difficult to win against them. A dragon-shaped murderous aura of the 5 elements roared and rushed out. It slapped away Uncle Li's black stinger with its claws and continued to attack Uncle O, who was behind him. At first, Uncle O looked disdainful, but when he met the attack with his palm, his face suddenly changed. His body, which was rushing forward, was instantly sent flying back. He retreated on his own initiative because the power of the dragon-shaped murderous aura was far beyond his expectation. If he fought it head-on, he would not only lose the upper hand, but also be injured. Lin Yi did not try to use the soul hook hand this time. He knew that it was too late to use it against Uncle O, because Uncle Li had quietly appeared beside Lin Yi, and the remaining black thorn stabbed towards Lin Yi's temple like a poisonous snake. Not only that, but the short thorn that was slapped away by the dragon-shaped murderous aura also flew back under Uncle Li's control. Its target was Hou Guanqi, who was behind Lin. Once it hit, not only Hou Guanqi, but also Lin Yi, who was in front of him, might be directly pierced. Lin Yi snorted coldly. Ignoring the inertia, his body suddenly flew sideways, barely avoiding Uncle Li's two short black thorns. However, he also lost the best opportunity to chase after Uncle O. The dragon-shaped five-elemental murderous aura surged in the air and pounced toward Uncle Li at lightning speed, forcing him to cross his two short black thorns and forcibly resist the dragon-shaped five-elemental murderous aura. Then, like Uncle O, he was sent flying backward in a semi-active and semi-passive manner. At this time, Obo, who had retreated, tapped his toes on the beach and rushed towards Lin Yi again, not giving Lin Yi any chance to breathe. It had to be said that these two guys were absolutely top-notch in terms of timing. It was no wonder that they could cooperate so well. If Lin Yi could only use his true chi to fight, even with the support of the space in the jade pendant, he might not have enough time to recover his chi. But his real killer move was always a divine sense attack. As Uncle O rushed forward, he suddenly found that he had once again fallen into the invisible vortex that could tear apart one's spirit. His body suddenly stopped. Although he knew that he could be easily killed by Lin Yi, the pain in his spirit made it impossible for him to react instantly. Lin Yi also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the divine sense vortex had worked twice. Compared to the soul hook hand, it was much more efficient. Although Lin Yi wanted to use the soul hook hand again, the short black thorns attacked again, and he really could not free his hands to deal with them. After avoiding Uncle Li's surprise attack, Lin Yi's figure flashed and condensed a ball of pill fire in each of his hands. After quickly combining them, he threw them to the empty space not far in front of him, which was the route that Uncle Li was about to take. This was the first time that the super pill fire bomb had appeared on the Heaven Stage Island. Since the integration of the divine sense pill fire, the speed of this move had become extremely fast. Although it had only been a moment, if it had hit Uncle Li, his whole body would have been blown up. A small ball of light suddenly appeared in front of Uncle Li. He saw that it was just something that Lin Yi had casually thrown at him. At first, he did not care about it, but when he approached it, a sense of danger, which had been honed by countless life and death experiences, made him feel a sense of fear. Without the slightest hesitation, Uncle Li almost subconsciously retreated. At the same time, he overlapped the two short black thorns in front of him and used all his true chi to protect his whole body. A dazzling light flashed, and a large pit with a diameter of 7 or 8 meters suddenly appeared on the ground. The surrounding fine sand could not flow into the pit for a while because the terrifying temperature had fused the sand at the edge. Uncle Li's face revealed a look of shock. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was able to escape death at the last moment, but he was not unscathed. That terrifying impact still caused his internal organs to be shaken. After throwing the super pill firebomb, Lin Yi did not look at the result at all. Instead, he frantically rushed out. He was not worried that the explosion would affect him. After adding the divine sense pill fire, the direction of the explosion could still be controlled. He wanted to seize this opportunity to kill Uncle O, who was trapped in the divine sense vortex. In fact, chasing after Uncle Li was also an option, but regardless of whether the explosion could hurt him or not, when Lin Yi chased after him, he would definitely be in the most guarded state. Instead, it was better to kill Uncle O before Uncle Li had time to react. Sure enough, Uncle Li was stunned by the power of the super pill firebomb. Frightened out of his wits, his first reaction was to defend himself to avoid being pursued by Lin. The joint attack between him and Uncle O was finally disrupted by Lin Yi's endless trump cards. At this time, Uncle O was also in a mess. Lin Yi did not divert his attention to control the divine sense vortex of the pill fire, so he could barely break free. However, as soon as he came out, he was greeted by Lin Yi's long-awaited soul hook hand. This time, there was finally no hindrance. The soul hook hand hit the bullseye. It was an easy and pleasant hit. Uncle O's mouth was wide open, and the panic on his face froze. His body straightened and rolled backward. Lin Yi suddenly felt relieved. Finally, one of them was killed, and the other one was much easier to deal with. Before Uncle O's body fell to the ground, Lin Yi grabbed the Skylock escape flag on his body and put it into his storage bag. The shackles on various escape techniques were suddenly loosened, and Lin Yi could use the thunder escape technique again. Uncle Li, who was not far away, saw Uncle O fall to the ground strangely and knew that something was wrong. At this time, he did not try to attack Lin Yi again, but directly turned around and fled. The two of them together could not deal with Lin Yi. What else could he do if he was left alone? If he did not run away quickly, he would inevitably die here. Chapter 59:35. Only by luring Lin Yi away could Qian Xiaodong take the opportunity to escape back to his residence. Once he returned to the extreme North Island, where there were many people, Lin Yi would not dare to kill him so easily. Lin Yi glanced at Uncle Li, who was quickly escaping, and sneered, "You still want to run now? It's too late." A lightning arc flashed, but Lin Yi had already appeared behind Uncle Li in an instant. If he wanted to compete with the lightning evasion technique in terms of speed, even the wind evasion technique would not be a match for him unless the opponent also used the lightning evasion technique. Uncle Li felt a faint murderous intent rising behind him and was immediately scared out of his wits. If he could escape this time, he would completely leave Rapid City and no longer have anything to do with Qian Xiaodong's family. Against a genius like Lin Yi, who had endless potential and many powerful trump cards, a mere Rapid City was really not enough. Unfortunately, he had not been able to take a firm stand at the beginning and had walked step by step until now. He actually wanted to kill Lin Yi before he grew up. However, he did not expect that even though Lin Yi had not grown up, he was not someone who could be killed so easily by someone in the early mountain opening stage. "Senior Lin, spare me." Uncle Li had already lost his courage, and in order to survive, he even called Lin Yi a senior. Unfortunately, Lin Yi had already made up his mind to kill him, especially since the black spike had been aimed at Hou Guanqi several times, and he had already been sent to line up at the entrance of the Yellow Springs. The soul hooking hand was activated again, and Uncle Li was also unable to resist. His soul was sucked into the space in the jade pendant by Lin Yi, and his body fell to the ground. Lin Yi let out a long breath, and only then did he realize that there was a lot of cold sweat on his forehead. The process of this battle was extremely short. From the beginning to the end, it had only been 3 or 4 breaths of time, but the danger Lin Yi himself had not expected. It could be said that if he did not handle this well, the ones who would die on the ground would be him and Hou Guanqi. Fortunately, Aunt Lan was not here. Otherwise, if the 3 of them joined forces and his lightning evasion was sealed, Lin Yi would not be able to escape even if he wanted to. In the future, if he were to face opponents of a higher level than him, he definitely couldn't let them join forces and surround him. He had to defeat them one by one. Thinking of Aunt Lan, Lin Yi suddenly thought of the concealment array disc from before. He asked the ghost, "Senior Ghost, is the concealment array disc still there? Or was it kept by them?" The ghostly thing laughed strangely and said, "I knew you would think about other people's things. It's still there, and there's an annoying little ghost inside. You can go and deal with him. Is it Qian Xiaodong or Yu Ziqing?" Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect that there would be another guy here. What an unexpected harvest. No matter which one of those 2 idiots it was, he had to kill them all the same. It was a pity that not all of them were here. "It's that Qian Xiaodong. Go. I will show you how to go in and collect the concealment array disc." After the ghostly thing finished speaking, it showed the way to enter the concealment array in Lin Yi's sea of consciousness. Hearing that it was Qian Xiaodong, Lin Yi suddenly nodded. No wonder the middle-aged woman was not here. She probably went to protect Yu Ziqing. Ever since that guy didn't bring anyone with him in the extreme North Chamber of Commerce, he had 2 mountain opening stage experts follow him in turns. He didn't have any spare time. In that case, it was fortunate that Yu Ziqing was not here. Otherwise, Lin Yi and Hou Guanqi would be dead. Before entering the concealment array disc, Lin Yi conveniently took away all the things on Uncle Li. After all, he was a mountain opening stage expert, so he still had some wealth. It was a pity that the pair of short black thorns had been destroyed by the super alchemy firebomb. Otherwise, they should be worth a few coins. After confirming that the spoils of war had been completely collected, Lin Yi directly used an alchemy fire to completely burn Uncle Li into ashes. Then, he returned to Uncle O and did the same thing again. In the concealment array disc, Qian Xiaodong trembled all over and covered his mouth in horror. Cold sweat was dripping from his forehead like a waterfall. Although he knew that Lin Yi couldn't hear him in the array disc, he still didn't dare to make the slightest sound. In any case, Qian Xiaodong would never have thought that the meticulously planned ambush would end up like this. He originally wanted to watch a good show of killing Lin Yi, but in the end, he ended up watching Lin Yi kill 2 mountain opening stage experts. It was really 2F** King Cruel. At this time, he still didn't reflect on the fact that he wanted to deal with Lin Yi. Instead, he resented Yu Ziqing for not coming with him. If Aunt Lan had come with him, they should have been able to deal with Lin Yi, right? Actually, he wasn't sure if the 3 early-stage mountain opening realm cultivators were enough. At least with Yu Ziqing by his side, he wouldn't have to be so terrified alone. At least he had a brother who was in the same boat to accompany him in his fear. It's okay. I'm in the formation formed by the level 8 concealment array disc. This bastard definitely won't be able to find me. When I return to the East Continent, I can ask my father to help me. By then, a mere Lin Yi would be nothing to me. Qian Xiaodong kept trembling and comforting himself in his heart. No, rather than saying that he was comforting himself, it was more accurate to say that Qian Xiaodong was hypnotizing himself to make him believe that nothing would happen. Unfortunately, this was just his own wish. After burning Uncle O, Lin Yi walked toward him calmly. Qian Xiaodong's eyes widened as if he had seen a demon. The frequency of his body trembling increased again. Now, his only hope was that Lin Yi could not find the array door to enter the formation. However, he didn't think about it carefully. This was just a concealment formation. If Lin Yi could not find the array door, he could directly attack it and expose the formation. After all, without the help of a defensive formation, the concealment formation was completely a decoy. With the guidance of the ghostly thing, Lin Yi certainly didn't need to do that kind of simple and crude thing. It was very easy for him to enter the formation. Qian Xiaodong squatted on the ground and covered his mouth. He looked at Lin Yi in a daze as he walked slowly toward him. He was still muttering in his heart, "He can't see me, he can't see me, he can't see me." Then he saw Lin Yi lowering his head and looking at him condescendingly. He sneered and waved at him. "Young Master Qian, what a coincidence." Qian Xiaodong's body trembled, and the violent trembling actually stopped in an instant. At the same time, he felt his heart skip a few beats. Chapter 59-36. Young Master Lin, what a coincidence. Qian Xiaodong was already sitting on the ground. When he raised his head to look at Lin Yi, he had a mournful expression on his face. He was still alive. But could he still be alive? Perhaps it would have been better if he had died just now? These thoughts flashed through Qian Xiaodong's mind, but in the end, his desire to live overcame everything, including fear. Young Master Lin, no, Senior Lin, this was all planned by that bastard Yu Ziqing. He gave me a lot of benefits and asked me to lend Uncle Li to him. I was worried, so I came to take a look. Believe me, I really didn't want to hurt you. In order to survive, Qian Xiaodong sold out Yu Ziqing without any hesitation. As for whether Lin Yi believed him or not, he believed him anyway. Lin Yi patted his sleeves calmly and taunted, "Is that so? Why do I think it's more reasonable for you to borrow Yu Ziqing's help?" Qian Xiaodong quickly shook his head and waved his hands. He turned over and knelt on both knees. "It's not like that, Senior Lin, believe me. I swear on the reputation of Rapid City that it was really Yu Ziqing who did this. By the way, Senior Lin, I am the young governor of Rapid City. As long as you let me go today, Rapid City will be your friend. In the future, when Senior Lin goes to the East Continent, if you need anything from Rapid City, I will do my best to help you. Lin Yi smiled faintly. If that's the case, I'm willing to believe you this once. Unfortunately, the friend on my back doesn't believe you. If there's a next life, remember not to mess with the people around me. Qian Xiaodong was overjoyed when he heard that Lin Yi was willing to believe him. However, when he heard what Lin Yi said next, he immediately shouted crazily, "You can't kill me, I am the young governor of Rapid City." Before he could finish, his body had already rolled to the side with a thud. Lin Yi grabbed Qian Xiaodong's primordial spirit and shrugged. "I'm sorry, I was wrong. You probably didn't manage to do it, so there's no next life. This is goodbye forever." Qian Xiaodong's primordial spirit still wanted to struggle and wail, but Lin Yi had already taken it into the space of the jade pendant. Then, it was time to plunder the spoils of war. Lin Yi was in a good mood. That idiot Qian Xiaodong was a nouveau riche. Seeing how he had targeted Lin Yi at the auction, it was clear that he had a lot of spiritual jades. The storage ring that had been bought by Qian Xiaodong yesterday was still on his finger. Lin Yi took it off and used his spiritual sense to explore it. He easily broke the seal on the ring and made it his. He really is a rich second generation. How King rich? Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh when he saw the items in the ring. Not to mention elixirs and elixirs, there were more than 500 million spiritual jades and close to 600 million spiritual jades in the Spirit Jade card alone. This was the case when he had used a lot of spiritual jades in the auction 2 days ago. Before the auction, he definitely had a net worth of more than 1 billion spiritual jades. In addition, there were some weapons and armors, but Lin Yi didn't care about them. For him, the most useful things were those spiritual jades. It just so happened that he was short of spiritual jades after winning the God-gathering branch. This idiot was really timely. Previously, Uncle O and Uncle Li also had a lot of spiritual jades. With the three of them together, Lin Yi's net worth was close to 1 billion spiritual jades. Finally, he felt like a nouveau riche. After transferring all the spiritual jades in the ring into the storage bag, he put the ring into the space of the jade pendant. This thing was not of much use to Lin Yi. With the storage bag as a cover, he didn't need the ring at all. It would attract attention. Later, he would see who needed the storage ring more and just give it to them. After burning Qian Xiaodong's body with Dan fire, Lin Yi put away the level 8 concealment formation plate on the ground. This was the biggest gain of the day. Like the mortal phenomenon, this kind of auxiliary tool could play an amazing role at specific times. Compared with spiritual jades, these were priceless treasures. After packing up, Lin Yi was ready to go back with Hou Guanqi on his back. Although the battle was very short, there was still some noise. If the Northern Guards found out, the Li family in the extreme north would not look good. It was better to leave as soon as possible. As for the idiot Yu Ziqing, without Uncle O, a middle-aged woman could not protect him. As long as Lin Yi found a chance, he would definitely accompany Qian Xiaodong. When Lin Yi was about to go back, his divine sense found Yu Ziqing, Aunt Lan, and Jing Tianqing rushing here. It was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Just when he was looking for a chance, it immediately appeared. Lin Yi was now full of murderous intent. Since they came to him, it was best to get rid of them. Li Ziyu? Lin Yi had already prepared a lightning arc in his hand. Suddenly, he found a group of people a little further away was also approaching quickly. The leaders were Li Ziyu and Wei Shenjin, with more than 20 elite Northern Guards. It seemed that Wei Shenjin had gone to Li Ziyu for help. In such a short time, Li Ziyu had found them with the Northern Guards. Obviously, after receiving the news, he did not waste any time and directly mobilized all his forces to do this. Lin Yi remembered this favor in his heart. If there was a chance in the future, he would definitely return the favor. However, Li Ziyu's timing was not good. It was not impossible for Lin Yi to kill Yu Ziqing and the other two before Li Ziyu and the Northern Guards arrived. However, there was definitely not enough time for him to destroy the bodies. In order not to alarm the northern guards, he did not use Thousand Thunder explosions and thunder burial in the battle just now. Now it was even more impossible for him to do it in front of them. Consider yourselves lucky. I'll let you live for now. Lin Yi shook his head regretfully. The lightning arc in his hand flashed, and he quickly fled in another direction with Hou Guanqi on his back. When Yu Ziqing and the other two arrived at the beach, Lin Yi had already appeared near the beach in the south, which was the place where he had removed the divine sense mark. Yu Ziqing looked at the battle marks on the east side of the island, but he didn't see any traces of Qian Xiaodong and the other two. He felt a chill in his heart. His instinct told him that Lin Yi wasn't dead. It was Uncle O and Uncle Li who died. When Lin Yi arrived at the beach in the south, he put Hou Guanqi down. It was too eye-catching to carry him on his back all the time. He had to find a way to wake him up first. After a careful examination, Lin Yi was relieved. Hou Guanqi's primordial spirit was only forcibly restrained by someone's divine sense. Other than that, there was no other problem. Chapter 5937. After removing the restriction on Hou Guanqi's spirit, he soon woke up. When he opened his eyes and saw Lin Yi, he was slightly stunned. "Brother Lin, why are you here?" Then he felt something was wrong. He turned around and asked, "What is this place?" "Brother Hou, don't you remember what happened?" Lin Yi asked curiously. Was Hou Guanqi's spirit restricted by Qian Xiaodong and the others as soon as he left the Dan Hall? Hou Guanqi stood up, scratched the back of his head and said, "I remember that Zheng Dongjue sent someone to tell me that he wanted me to go to the extreme North Chamber of Commerce to identify a batch of purchased spirit herbs. This was a task from the Dan Hall, so I couldn't refuse, so I went. But I just left the Dan Hall, so I don't know what happened next." "So it was like this. I heard from a disciple of your Dan Hall that something happened to you, so I came to find you, and then I saw you unconscious on the beach." Lin Yi sneered in his heart. The bastards of the Zheng family were determined to kill Hou Guanqi together, so they were completely unscrupulous. They'd better pray that they didn't fall into his hands, because Lin Yi would never let them go easily. Hou Guanqi didn't know that Lin Yi omitted most of the facts. He thought that he was unconscious on the beach here, so he looked around and said, "It's really strange. Why did I faint here? If someone is doing this on purpose, then what is their intention?" Lin Yi didn't intend to tell Hou Guanqi about Qian Xiaodong and the others. He could bear this matter himself. It was safer for Hou Guanqi not to know. As long as he showed ignorance in front of Zheng Tianqing and the others, those guys probably wouldn't continue to target him. Qian Xiaodong, Obo, and Uncle Li were nowhere to be seen, and their corpses were also nowhere to be found. This was enough to greatly deter these clowns. Before killing Lin Yi, unless it was absolutely necessary, they probably wouldn't casually attack others. "Brother Hou, it's fine if you can't remember. It's not like you're injured." Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. He turned to look at the beach on the east side of the island and said, "Let's go back early so that they won't worry." Hou Guanqi immediately nodded and said, "That's right. I've really made you worry this time. Brother Lin, you even came to look for me. Sorry for troubling you." "Brother Hou, you're treating me like an outsider. We're all on the same side. There's no need to say this." Lin Yi pretended to be displeased and said, "Brother Hou, why don't you go?" Hou Guanqi smiled and shook his head. He didn't say anything more. However, when he was about to follow, he found that Lin Yi suddenly stopped. He couldn't help but wonder, "Brother Lin, why don't you go?" Lin Yi turned his head and said with a smile, "Oh, I suddenly want to enjoy the wind here. I won't send you back, Brother Hou. Is it okay for you to go alone?" "Of course it's okay. Brother Lin, do you really think I'm old, weak, and disabled?" Hou Guanqi laughed and said. Then he turned to look at the desolate scene around him and asked curiously, "Brother Lin, what's the point of enjoying the wind here?" After asking, he felt that he was being too abrupt. He quickly said, "Look carefully. The scenery here is good. In that case, I'll go first. Brother Lin, be careful." After that, Hou Guanqi cupped his hands and said goodbye. Lin Yi was not worried that he would be in danger. Yu Ziqing, Zheng Tianqing, and Aunt Lan were still on the beach on the east side of the island. Li Ziyu was talking to them with the northern guard. Lin Yi could easily monitor them with his divine awareness. As long as these guys were still there was no need to worry about other people attacking Hou Guanqi. As for the reason why Lin Yi wanted to stay, it was not because he wanted to enjoy the wind, but because he had sensed the arrival of Languza. The communication bead could be used for communication, and it could also sense the presence of Languza within a small range. Of course, this was on the premise that Languza was willing to be sensed by the communication bead. After Hou Guanqi left, Lin Yi quickly came to the beach. After making sure that there was no one nearby, he immediately put the communication bead into the sea. Languza's shadow immediately appeared in front of Lin Yi. "Boss, I am on the periphery of this extreme north island, but except for the dock, there are restrictions everywhere. I can't sneak ashore. What should I do?" As soon as Languza appeared, he asked with a depressed face. If one wanted to enter the island from the dock, one must have an identity. Not everyone could enter the island. Lin Yi had not thought of this problem before, so Languza could only stay in the sea outside. This matter was actually not difficult to handle. Whether it was Li Ziyu or Okuda Dam, it was not a big problem to let Languza come in openly. Therefore, Lin Yi smiled and nodded. "I will arrange this matter. How about you? Have you advanced to the mountain opening stage?" Languza laughed dryly and said, "No, but don't worry, boss. I'm just a little bit away. Let me go to the island and have a good meal. Then find a few people to beat me up. Perhaps I'll be able to advance." Lin Yi scolded with a smile. "I have never heard of someone who can advance by beating people up. Just say it directly. Why are you looking for excuses?" "Boss is wise. I knew that there was nothing that the boss couldn't see through." Languza hurriedly buttered him up. He had been eating sea beasts all day long in the ocean. His abilities had increased very quickly, but his mouth was so bland that a bird was about to fly out. He had never eaten good food before, so he didn't think that there was anything wrong with sea beast meat. However, Languza had stayed in the secular world for a while, and his taste had long been spoiled. It was really hard for him to stay in the sea for so many days. "Languza, that guy last time should have brought you a lot of improvement, right? You said that you are almost at the mountain opening stage, so now you are at the profound ascension great circle?" Lin Yi was not in a hurry to leave, so he chatted with Languza. Languza said proudly, "That's right. Don't worry, boss. Even though I'm not at the mountain opening stage yet, I'm much more awesome than a normal human at the mountain opening stage. Therefore, if I follow you now, I'll definitely be of great help." Lin Yi really believed this. If Languza had been by his side just now, it would have been useless no matter how Uncle O and Uncle Li worked together. He and Languza could kill them with a flick of a finger. "Since you are so close, why don't you just advance and then come to me?" Lin Yi glared at this guy who did not want to make progress. If it was him, he would definitely find a way to break through in this situation. Chapter 59:38. Languza thought to himself, "Boss, don't you know that I'm a glutton? Why are you still asking me why?" But he really didn't dare to say this out loud. He could only roll his eyes and said with a smile, "It's like this, boss. You don't know, there are many powerful sea beasts around this island, and they are all in groups. I'm alone, so it's a little difficult for me to level up in a short period of time, so I plan to rest on the island for a while and then think of a way to level up." Lin Yi was slightly startled when he heard this, and then said solemnly, "Languza, what you said is true. You're not joking, right?" Languza stretched out his claws and scratched his big head, not knowing which sentence Lin Yi was referring to. Thinking about it carefully, he felt that he was not joking, so he nodded hard. "Boss, why would I, Languza, lie to you? Of course it's all true." Then he asked with some uncertainty, "Boss, do you think I'm joking?" Lin Yi waved his hand, frowned and fell into thought. He believed that Languza would not talk nonsense, but near the island in the extreme north, were there so many powerful sea beasts? For Languza to say that it was powerful, it must be a sea beast at the profound ascension great perfection or even the mountain opening stage, right? And they're even in groups? Languza, tell me in detail, how many powerful sea beasts are there around the island in the extreme north? What's their strength? Lin Yi looked at Languza's shadow seriously and asked in a deep voice. Languza didn't think too much about it. He responded with an "oh" and started to recall. It's hard to say the exact number, but they basically wander around in groups of 3 to 5. In terms of strength, there's a mountain opening initial stage in a group, and a few of them are mysterious ascension late stage peak or mysterious ascension great perfection, so I don't dare to provoke them. I've swam around this island once, and I've probably met 7 or 8 groups with this composition. Lin Yi was slightly relieved. If it was only to this extent, there was no need to worry. At most, there were 7 or 8 sea beasts at the early mountain opening stage and some followers at the peak of the profound ascension late stage. The extreme North Island could definitely deal with them easily. Even Okuda Dam's ancient warship could easily deal with a siege of this level of sea beasts. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Lin Yi shook his head and said with a smile, Languza, continue to investigate and see if there are any more powerful sea beasts in this area. Then, go to the dock. I will ask Captain Okuda from the ancient warship to help you get on the island. Languza was immediately overjoyed and said, Okay boss, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. By the way, I wonder if there's anything particularly delicious on this island? Wait boss, don't tell me. Let me find out myself when I get to the island. Ha! Lin Yi was speechless. This foodie really wanted to find delicious food on the island. After Languza said a few more words, the two of them ended the communication. Lin Yi put away the communication pearl, thinking that he should ask Li Ziyu about it when he had the time. He wanted to see if there were so many mountain opening and mystic ascending stage sea beasts around the extreme North Island. If it had appeared recently, then he would have to raise some vigilance measures, lest there was an incident of a sea beast tide attacking the extreme North Island. Although the coastline of the extreme North Island was protected by ancient restrictions, after so many years, he didn't know if it could still withstand the impact of a large number of sea beasts. After thinking for a long time, Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. Only now did he realize that he was thinking too much. About the sea beasts, he could just mention it to Li Ziyu. In terms of dealing with sea beast attacks, the experience of the extreme North Li family was certainly not comparable to that of an outsider like him. Instead of worrying about it, it was better to go back and count today's harvest. On the eastern beach of the island, Yu Ziqing and Zheng Tianqin didn't find anything. They could only go back and take a look for the time being. Li Ziyu couldn't find Lin Yi, so he went in another direction. Lin Yi's divine sense completely covered the eastern beach of the island. It could be said that he knew everything there. Although Aunt Lan was at the early stage of the mountain opening stage, her divine sense was far less powerful than Lin Yi's. She couldn't find Lin Yi's divine sense at all. Lin Yi wanted to follow Yu Ziqing and the others to see if there was a chance to kill them in a place where there was no one around. Unfortunately, Li Ziyu and his northern guards were not far from the 3 guys. Once there was a battle, they would arrive in an instant. If he used the red dust phenomenon, he could hide it from the northern guards for a short time. However, Lin Yi's movement would be exposed sooner or later. At that time, Li Ziyu would inevitably feel uncomfortable. After thinking about it again and again, Lin Yi temporarily suppressed the idea of killing them. Anyway, they were in the extreme North Island. Sooner or later, he would have to deal with them. Since there was no chance, Lin Yi didn't force it. He simply went to meet Li Ziyu and Wei Shenjin, so that they wouldn't waste time looking for him. Brother Li, it's been hard for you to find me. After approaching, Lin Yi raised his hand and waved. When Li Ziyu and Wei Shenjin heard Lin Yi's voice, they immediately ran over with the northern guards. Brother Lin, are you okay? Wei Shenjin said that something might happen to you. It really scared me. If something happened to Brother Lin on the extreme North Island, how would I, Li Ziyu, have the face to stand in this world? Li Ziyu ran over and took a closer look at Lin. Seeing that he was not injured, he said with relief. In the distance, Yu Ziqing and the others also saw Lin Yi and Li Ziyu's group meeting. They were immediately shocked, which further confirmed their speculation. Qian Xiaodong and Uncle O Boli were most likely dead. The question was, how did Lin Yi do it? Did he really rely on his own strength? In any case, in this situation, there was nothing else they could do. They could only watch from afar and quickly leave. Wei Shenjin said embarrassedly, Boss, I was worried that you would be tricked, so I went to young Master Li for help. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, I understand. You are also worried about me. It's just too troublesome, Brother Li. Brother Lin, you don't treat me as a friend, do you? It's just a small matter. Why do you say it's troublesome? Moreover, this is the responsibility of the extreme North Island. By the way, how is your friend? Li Ziyu remembered that Lin Yi came out to look for Hou Guanqi. Now that Lin Yi had appeared, what about Hou Guanqi? Lin Yi smiled and said, he's fine. He just went back. Chapter 59-39. After a slight pause, Wei Shenjin continued, Boss, since there's nothing else, then I'll go first. I want to go to the Universal Chamber of Commerce to have a look. Looking at him, it was obvious that he was going to find Shang Yuhua. This was the so-called 1 day apart feels like 3 years. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, Go, it's fine even if you don't come back today. Wei Shenjin suddenly felt embarrassed. After saying goodbye to Li Ziyu, he quickly left the place. Lin Yi turned his head and looked at the direction of the sea. He remembered what Languza said and asked, Brother Li, are there many sea beasts around the extreme North Island? Li Ziyu thought that Lin Yi was just asking casually. He didn't care and replied with a smile, Of course there are many sea beasts, but they won't be too close to the extreme North Island. This is because we have ancient restrictions here. Normally, the stronger the sea beast, the harder it is to get close to the extreme North Island. Only sea beasts below the nascent soul stage will easily appear around the extreme North Island. Lin Yi was slightly startled. This situation was not the same as what Languza said. Was there really a problem? Brother Lin, you can rest assured that our extreme North Island is definitely a very safe place. In fact, those sea beasts below the nascent soul stage were deliberately let in by the restrictions. After all, we also have cultivators who need to train near the sea. With those sea beasts as opponents, the effect is not bad. Li Ziyu thought that Lin Yi was worried about the safety of the extreme North Island. Although the area of the extreme North Island was small, it has stood in this sea for many years. How could there be any danger? Lin Yi shook his head and said, Brother Li, actually I thought of something. When I came to the extreme North Island, I saw many powerful sea beasts on the deck of the ancient warship in the nearby sea area, and they were all swimming together in groups of 3 to 5. The weakest was at the peak of the late profound ascension stage, and the strongest had reached the early mountain opening stage. I saw at least 4 or 5 groups of these sea beasts, but the strength of the extreme North Island is strong, so I didn't take it seriously, but after listening to what you just said, I feel that something is wrong. Of course, Lin Yi couldn't tell Li Ziyu about Languza. He could only say that he saw it on the deck. In any case, this information had been passed to Li Ziyu. As for how Li Ziyu would manipulate it, Lin Yi couldn't care less. Li Ziyu's expression changed slightly. He didn't doubt Lin Yi's words, but this matter completely subverted his understanding, so he didn't know how to react for a moment. There were so many powerful sea beasts in the waters near the extreme North Island, and they were acting in an organized manner? What do they want to do? Launch a general attack on the extreme North Island? Brother Lin, thank you for reminding me about this matter. I'm sorry, I have to arrange someone to confirm this information, so I have to leave now. Li Ziyu's expression was no longer calm. He said this with a slightly anxious expression, and then left with the Northern Army in a hurry. Lin Yi bowed to Li Ziyu's back. He didn't know whether he should hope that Languza's information was true or not. If it was true, the extreme North Island was obviously in trouble. If it was false, he would feel sorry for Li Ziyu. When he returned to the station of 5 Elements Commerce, Hou Guanqi was waiting for Lin. When he saw Lin Yi coming in, he immediately came out and greeted him. Brother Lin, you're back. Brother Hou, why didn't you go back and have a good rest? Lin Yi suppressed his worries, nodded with a smile and asked. He then greeted Kai Zhongyang, who followed him out. Kai Zhongyang said with a smile, Eldest brother was afraid that we would be worried, so he came to tell us that you're safe. He said that Brother Lin would be back in a while, but I didn't expect you to come back so soon. He looked behind Lin Yi and there was no one else. Kai Zhongyang then continued to ask, Why didn't Wei Shenjin find you? I thought he would come back with you. Lin Yi smiled and said, He found me, but this guy saw that I'm fine, so he went to find Miss Shang in a hurry. Kai Zhongyang and Hou Guanqi immediately burst into laughter. They even sighed and said that young people were really good. Lin Yi stood in the courtyard and chatted with the two of them for a while. He was worried about Languza, so he said that he wanted to stay on the ancient warship for a night and said goodbye to the two of them. Kai Zhongyang and Hou Guanqi didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. Lin Yi had a good relationship with Okuda Dam, and he was also the honorary vice-captain. It was normal for him to stay there for a night. Lin Yi arrived at the ancient warship and found Okuda Dam in the bridge. At that moment, he was looking at the ancient warship's surveillance formation with a serious expression. "Brother Okuda, what are you looking at?" Lin Yi asked as he approached Okuda Dam and looked at the surveillance formation. As the honorary vice-captain of the ancient warship, there was nothing wrong with him doing this. Okuda Dam nodded to Lin Yi and said, "Brother Lin, you're here. These 2 days, the sea around the northern island hasn't been very peaceful. So I didn't go to the auction and just looked at the surveillance formation." Lin Yi confirmed that Languza's information was true. Even Okuda Dam felt that something was wrong. It showed how close the sea beasts were to the northern island. "Brother Okuda, the range of the surveillance formation is limited. What can you see?" Lin Yi asked with some doubt. If there were sea beasts in the surveillance formation, it was equivalent to the dock being attacked. Okuda Dam shook his head and smiled. "It's good that I can't see anything. I'm afraid of seeing something inside. There are people watching day and night. If there are any abnormalities in the distance, they will inform me first. As long as it's not a sudden attack from the bottom of the sea, my fleet should be able to resist." "Is the situation that serious?" Lin Yi's expression became serious. For Okuda Dam to take such a precautionary measure, it showed how serious he was. "Brother Okuda, what did you find?" Okuda Dam smiled bitterly and said, "I can't say what exactly I found. I just vaguely saw some powerful fellows in the distance, and there were a lot of them. Brother Lin, you know, when we faced the sea beast tide last time, if it wasn't for you controlling the starfall formation and repelling the sea dragons, my warship would have been destroyed. So, I'm very sensitive to the gathering of sea beasts." Speaking about the last time they faced the sea beast tide, Lin Yi still had a lingering fear. If it wasn't for that ghost, he wouldn't have been able to control the starfall formation. He would have been eaten by the sea dragons as a snack. Could it be that the sea dragons were planning this time?